Today, I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me literally at Thanksgiving dinner with his family. So I decided to get some petty revenge by not only exposing him for being a cheater, but also by taking back everything I've ever given him, leaving his house completely barren. And I've got to be honest, this was incredibly satisfying to do, and I'm really glad that I did it. Here's what happened. Okay, so about a year into dating my now ex-boyfriend, I met his family for the first time during Thanksgiving, and I stayed overnight at their house. Dinner went well, and everyone was really warm and welcoming. But the next morning, this is where crap really hit the fan. While he was in the shower, his phone kept buzzing with calls and text messages. I glanced at the screen and I saw a message that said, "Baby, I miss you." And this was all from an unsaved number. So I called the number from my phone, and the woman who answered told me everything about their relationship. They met at their work, and he presented himself as single and pursued her around the same time we started dating. Now, I was obviously devastated, but more so disgusted by this discovery, and immediately went into revenge mode. So when my boyfriend came out of the shower, I just acted normal. We went downstairs to greet his family for breakfast, and I discreetly brought my bags down with me. I announced to his family, "I just found out that your son has been cheating on me, so I won't be staying for breakfast or any future meals." And when I said this, they were stunned, and he looked absolutely terrified. Luckily, we had driven separately, so I immediately left and started driving home. But on the way, I got angrier, and I decided on one last petty move. Months earlier, I'd gifted him a living and dining room set that I got for free from a friend who was moving out of state. So I called up a pal of mine who has a pickup truck, and I asked her to meet me at his apartment. Using the key that he had given me, we went inside and took back everything I had gifted him. The dining table, the chairs, the couch, the coffee table, the side tables, gutting the place entirely and essentially leaving the room completely empty. I blocked him on everything, and I took so much satisfaction in knowing that he's a cheater with no furniture. Oh, and me and the other woman met up for coffee to hash out the details and finally became friends. So at the end of the day, this was kind of a win-win for me because I got away from this absolute loser. Holy crap, dude, imagine going to Thanksgiving with your boyfriend's family, only to then find out right then and there, oh yeah, he's cheating on me. Oh great, this sucks. Like, dude, the timing is completely uncanny, and I would hate to be in that kind of situation. But the original poster handled it well. They got some fantastic revenge. They exposed this guy for being a cheater in front of his family, which he probably will never live down, and also left him with nothing in his house. Like, that is so funny to me. So good for you for getting back at this person, because this guy absolutely deserved it.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for my share of the Airbnb after my friend offered to let me stay for free when I said I couldn't afford it? Because right now, this is being turned against me in a way that's really inappropriate, and it's kind of put me in a weird position. Here's what's going on. Okay, so there was a big event in the city, which is a decent distance away, maybe about an hour and a half by train, and 8 of us were planning to go. Now, one guy who I will call Dan for the sake of the story suggested that we book an Airbnb and split the cost 8 ways, which basically cost around $70 each. Now, I've honestly been bad at saving my money, and I'm trying to make an effort to spend less. So I told everybody up front, if you guys want to do the Airbnb, go for it. I'll just take the train home after the event. Now, after the event ended, I started saying goodbye to everybody, and I tell them that I'm heading to the train station. But suddenly, everybody starts trying to convince me to stay at the Airbnb. But I firmly say no, because I'm trying to save money, and that I'm just trying to go home. Then Dan specifically tells me we've already ordered it anyways. Just stay for free since we're going to pay regardless. Now, I wasn't really going to argue to have a free place to chill at, so I just said okay. I ended up sleeping on the floor because there weren't enough beds, but I made some dodgy sleeping bag out of blankets and pillows. Well, a couple days later, Dan messages me asking where my $70 is for the night. And I seriously was pretty confused about this, because I reminded him he literally said to stay for free, and that's why I stayed. He then said that he was just trying to be nice and was still expecting me to pay my share anyways. I then just straight up told him that I'm not paying anything, and I would have just taken the train home if I knew I had to pay for something. And he knew that because I said it multiple times before the trip. Well, now he's calling me a cheap user, saying I'm taking advantage of him, and that if I was a good friend, I'd pay up because it's only fair. But I really feel like I shouldn't owe him a cent. He made the offer, and if he didn't mean it, he should not have said anything. And also, I slept on the floor, so the Airbnb obviously wasn't meant to include me anyways. I'm not trying to scam anybody. I genuinely planned to go home by train and only stayed because he offered free, and now he's acting like I'm a jerk. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because right now I'm really confused. No, I don't think the original poster is the jerk at all. Dan literally did offer the place and say, hey, come and stay for the night. It's okay. Come and join us. We're going to pay regardless. What he didn't say is, hey, if you do stay, you have to pay $70. So it's really weird that he would like bait and switch you like that and be like, oh yeah, you can stick around, and then try to like get money out of you a few days later. You're not using anybody. You literally were just going to go home on the train. Like he knew your plan to like leave so you could save money. So for him to sit there and be like, wow, I can't believe you're using me like that. That in my opinion is completely out of line and so uncalled for. So no, if anybody's the jerk here, it's definitely Dan. Am I overreacting for wanting to break up with my boyfriend over the way he's acting towards my apartment building's rules? Because right now I'm honestly very frustrated and I just don't know what else to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I've been with my boyfriend for about 4.5 years. 3 years ago, I moved out of my family home and got a tiny basement apartment that I unfortunately had to leave due to flooding. And my boyfriend would stay with me about 3 or 4 nights a week there. The next apartment I moved into was a more expensive apartment building with more rules. And my boyfriend expressed wanting to stay with me more often, so he said he would help out with rent and pay for groceries. Now, full disclosure, he has a criminal past, and so I didn't want him on the lease. And this is because I was worried I wouldn't get the apartment when I first applied. There's also been other issues in our relationship that kind of have made me hesitant to rely on him in that way. For the past 1.5 years, he has stayed with me about 6 days a week and goes home to his parents the other 1 or 2 days. Everything has been fine in this apartment building, and the staff had known that he stayed with me. For a bit more context, my boyfriend now pays me about $115 a month for utilities and splits the grocery bill with me, and he does not pay me any rent. Well, jump to today, and we have a new staff at my building, and they are much stricter about the rules, which I totally understand. I mean, it is their job. But one of the new rules is that you cannot park overnight in the parking lot without a pass, and to get a pass, you must register your car as a resident of the building. I brought this up to my boyfriend, and he said to just ask for a parking pass for him or to register his car under my name. And I said I'm hesitant to do that because I don't want to get in trouble or even kicked out. For reference, I'm on a month-to-month in this building, and I love my apartment, and it's also far less expensive than anything else near me. Now, when I said this, his response was, okay, I guess I'll just never come over then. I mean, I thought we'd be able to come up with like a plan together, but I feel like he's putting all the risk on me. Now, I told him that, and he said there's nothing that he can do to come up with a solution, and then got pissed off at me. I feel like I've been sick worrying about this, and he doesn't seem concerned at all. There have been a few times when I've wanted to break up with him in the past, and I just haven't done it, but something about this is really making me feel like I should. So am I overreacting right now? Because this is all really frustrating. Okay, I don't think you're overreacting at all. It sounds like your boyfriend is just blatantly using you. And he's just completely being irrational. Like, dude, it sounds like if you don't do everything that he says, he's gonna jump to some weird conclusion and be like, okay, I'll just never come over anymore, fine. And it's like, bro, you don't need to be that extreme. Like, is it that serious? I don't know, that just kind of rubs me the wrong way personally. So no, you're not overreacting. I would also kind of feel like this if I was with someone who was acting this way. And this is completely aside of his criminal past. Like, people can change. I'm not judging someone based off of that. It's just the way he's acting right now is showing some true colors that I would personally never ignore. Am I the jerk for removing my roommate's access to the thermostat after he kept turning my place into a sauna? Because this has gone on for far too long and I feel like I'm losing my mind. Here's what's happening. I'm a 26-year-old and I live with my 27-year-old roommate, and we split the rent and have been for a while now. And with that, I've got to say that this guy is completely nuts about being cozy, which to him means cranking the thermostat up to like 80 degrees and leaving it running all day. Well, I work from home and it's like walking into a sauna. The meetings are grueling enough without feeling like I'm going to spontaneously combust. Now, I asked him to please keep the temperature reasonable a bunch of times. He would say okay, but as soon as I went to bed or left the room, he would flip it right back to tropical climate. Finally, I told him if he wants to live in a constant heat wave, he can take out his wallet and write the extra checks. But he said that I'm being controlling and that temperature just isn't that big of a deal. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I changed the application password on the thermostat and I set it to keep the house at a reasonable 72 degrees during the day and 78 degrees at night. He then finds out and changes the password and proceeds to call me a total psychopath, as if I'm acting like I'm the owner of the place. And I've got to be honest, it is getting pretty ridiculous. And now he's been telling all of our friends that I'm being financially manipulative because I won't let him turn the heat up to broil with my money. And our friends, I mean, my God, they're really split on it. Some just laugh along with us like it's a hilarious joke, while others are actually starting to think that he's lost his mind. So am I the jerk here? Because honestly, this is really getting frustrating. No, you're not the jerk. That is way
too hot. I don't care who you are. Like, I don't want to be sitting in 80-degree weather in my own house because, yeah, it's very quickly going to get sweaty and gross. Like, there's no reason for him to be like, I want it to be really hot. It needs to be super cozy. We're going to do that. It's like, bro, can we at least split the difference? Let's put it at like a solid 74 or something like that. If you want to feel hotter, then wear a sweater. Like, what do you want? But to crank it all the way up to 80 when there's no need for that, like from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of like, I don't know, snow on the ground or your house is like naturally cold or anything like that. So like, dude, there's no reason to make it that hot. And honestly, that is super weird. My mom demands more money from me even though I give her a monthly allowance, putting me in a situation where truly I just don't know what to do anymore. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I work full time and I still live with my mom. I cover the household bills, I pay for my own food, and I give her a monthly allowance. Well, lately she's been asking for more. She says that when she was younger, she gave her mom a fixed amount every month, so she expects me to do the same. What bothers me is that she doesn't expect this from my brother. He actually earns more than I do, but because he has some debt, she doesn't pressure him. Meanwhile, I'm just supposed to hand over more without any question. It's not like she truly needs the money either. She has a retirement salary and also receives my late father's pension every month. I mean, she barely even spends what she already has. I honestly don't understand why she keeps pushing for more. This situation also brings up a lot from the past. Growing up, she hated spending money on us. Whenever she did, she made sure we knew that we should be grateful and reminded us that providing for us was our father's responsibility and not hers. Yet when it came to her siblings or her own parents, she would give without any hesitation. And I think that's why this feels so frustrating now. I probably wouldn't even mind giving her more if she hadn't been so selfish with me growing up. What should I do? Okay, if I was honestly in this situation and I found myself working full time and I still had to give my mom more money, you know, outside of what is like already being given, I would probably start saving up to try and move out. Like seriously, I would be like, dude, I gotta get out of here. Because chances are you're probably spending way more just giving her money and paying for her stuff than you would be renting like a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Like, I don't know, this just seems really weird and just really unfair for you. So yeah, that's what I would do if I was in your situation because it definitely sounds like your mom's taking advantage of you. My entire life revolves around my entitled sister, and after dealing with this for so many years, I feel like I'm at my breaking point and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm an 18-year-old female and I'm the oldest in my family. I was never the most successful or talented person, but if I find something I love, I put my whole heart into it. I have a hobby that I put so much work into, like I practice it anytime I'm alone, and I'm very proud of how much work I've done. Now, one of my sisters, who's about 12 years old, I'm gonna call her Brittany for the sake of the story, and Brittany is a prodigy in her sport. She is pretty much a celebrity in that sport and has a lot of followers on Instagram. My family acts like my stuff is less important and I should drop everything at any moment to help them out, but I've done so much for them. I watch my youngest sister for days to weeks on end so that my parents can go with them to compete, and it really feels like I started babysitting at 11 and just never stopped. I miss plenty of activities with my church and friends because of babysitting. I'm an adult now and I still live at home for financial reasons, and I don't even have a car, and I really feel like I'm going insane. I have started going out more with friends and my new boyfriend, and I do stay out until like 1:30 in the morning at the latest. So I guess I'm selfish for hanging out with people and having a life. I'm selfish for not helping my mom get my siblings ready. And I'm really selfish for defending myself when Brittany pulls my hair, physically attacks me, or calls me names like ugly, a brat, a jerk, or even worthless and useless. She would even say that she wishes I wasn't alive and that I wasn't her sister. Brittany treats everybody terribly, but still never gets in trouble. They spoil her and give her expensive clothing and shoes, as well as trips that just really don't seem fair. On the other hand, they've always made me feel like crap, but also they have helped me so much and I had an amazing childhood. Basically, they can be good parents when they want to be, and I love them, and my mom never hurt me physically, and my dad is amazing. But with all things considered, I feel like my life is really revolving around my younger sister, and I just don't know what to do. Oh man, I'm so sorry the original poster's going through that. That really does sound miserable. You do a lot for your family and they clearly just don't appreciate that. You've been babysitting for years for them. You've been like taking care of like logistical stuff so they could have your sister compete and like do the sport she's a part of. But in the process, they've basically left you by the wayside. But I don't think it's all bad because this is a perfect opportunity for you to literally pick up the pieces and move forward. Like if I was in your shoes, I would start doing everything I can to like get a license if I don't have one, get a job if I don't have one, and start
saving up. Like, that would be the first thing on my mind. It's like, dude, I need some money in my own bank account because the way things are going right now is not serving me well. Like, this really is a chance for you to take back control and figure your life out. So yeah, I hope this works out for you, and I hope you're able to find some kind of like independence, and your family's able to see that you really are valuable to the family, because all the things that Brittany's getting, you absolutely deserve as well, regardless of anything she might say. My boyfriend is a starving artist, and as far as I can tell, he is committed to being broke, because right now I'm at a loss of how to help him get his life together, and I'm wondering if it's even possible in the first place. Here's what's currently going on. For a bit of context, we don't live together, and we have been a couple for about 3 years. He had a good job when I first met him, but he hurt his back a month into dating and quit that job. He then racked up a ton of debt since he was out of work, until he found a job at a tattoo shop as a helper. He works 10-hour days doing whatever the artist barked him to do, even if it's not related to the job. They don't pay him hourly, they just give him whatever they feel like he deserves for that day, which means on some days he might get $100 and other days $20, with some of those days meaning that he goes home with nothing. He's now training as an apprentice and they cut his days, and now his pay is dependent on how many customers he gets, which is not that many. The economy is so messed up, and tattoos are a luxury that a lot of people can't justify spending money on. I mean, I can attest to that personally. I haven't gotten tattooed in years because I have more important things to put first. He lives with his parents just like I do, and no, I'm not talking down on this, but he constantly talks about how badly he wants his own place. My dad owns properties and told my boyfriend that he could live in a 2-bedroom house that he has for about $1,000 rent, which is stupid cheap in our area, but my boyfriend said he couldn't afford that. And holy crap, if he can't afford that, then I don't see how he ever plans on leaving his parents' home. Currently, his only bills are his car payment, his phone bill, and his insurance, and he can barely make that. He has 2 bald tires and needs to get his brakes fixed, but he can't save up enough money to get it handled. My dad continuously offers a helping hand to him, giving him money because he likes the guy, but the money never goes to things that matter. So I just told my dad to not enable him anymore. I try to push him into getting a real job where he can get paid fairly, but he just wants to chase his dreams. He constantly talks about wanting to get married and have kids, and talks about how he doesn't want to be too old when we have them. But here's the thing, he can't support a family. He can't even support himself right now. I feel so burnt out hearing about how much he hates his job responsibilities, on top of how broke he is. He could easily get another job and do tattooing as a side gig, but he says that his boss will only see that as him not being dedicated enough and just let him go, which really puts me at a loss here. So what should I do to encourage him to get his life together? Like, is that even possible at this point? What should I do? Okay, it really sounds like this guy does not have his life figured out, and he's not going to figure it out anytime soon. I totally understand where he's coming from, where he's like, dude, I want to be an artist. I want to chase my dreams and do what I love. And it's like, dude, that's totally fine, and I hear you, and I think that's absolutely noble, but guess what? If you can't pay your bills and you can't take care of someone else, then it's time to take off the rose-tinted glasses and get to work. Like, holy crap, get a better job. These people at the tattoo shop are absolutely taking advantage of you, by the way. I mean, I don't know what kind of program you signed up for, but dude, that does not sound like a job. It sounds like you're their slave or something like that. And sure, he wants to get married and have kids, and oh, I don't want to be too old when I have kids, but it's like, bro, what are you on about? You can't even support yourself, let alone another person. Like, you really need to get your priorities figured out sooner than later, because all of this is just really weird in my opinion, and it's time for something to change. Am I the jerk for separating the schedules of 2 employees who are currently dating simply because their relationship is starting to actively affect the workplace? Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things off, I manage a small business, and 2 of my employees recently started seeing each other. At first, I really didn't care. They're adults. As long as the work gets done, whatever. But over time, it started affecting the workplace. They would always take breaks together, stick to the same stations, even when they weren't assigned there, disappear into the stock room at the same time, and then get distracted talking while customers were waiting. If I needed one of them, I'd have to go find both of them. And you know what? Other employees started noticing too. A couple of them came to me saying it felt unfair. When those 2 worked the same shift, it felt like they operated as a unit. If one made a mistake, the other would jump in and argue. There was definitely tension building and people were starting to gossip. So I made the decision to separate their schedules. I didn't embarrass them or make a scene. I called them in privately and I told them straight up that work is work. I'm not against them dating, but during work hours, I need professionalism and focus. Well, Well, ever since then, the vibe has been really weird. The girl cried in the bathroom saying that I was being unfair for splitting them up. The guy has also been noticeably cold towards me, and I've even overheard comments implying I'm bitter or meddling in their relationship. And now the staff is split. Some of them think that I did the right thing because it is a workplace, not a dating lounge. And others think that I overreacted and I should have just let it be, just as long as the tasks were technically getting done. I honestly just wanted to prevent bigger drama down the line and keep things professional. I didn't ban them from seeing each other. I just put them on different shifts. So am I the jerk for doing that? Or should I just let it play out and hope that it wouldn't blow up later? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, someone in the comment section said it best. Like, you're the manager and not the villain. The second they turned that stockroom into their dating site, like, that, in my opinion, is more than enough to be like, okay, we gotta get some distance between the two of you. They're obviously just messing around during work hours instead of doing their job. Also, they're turning any conversation into a 2-on-1 against another employee, where one of them's arguing for the other. Like, that is obnoxious in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk. I would have done the same thing if I was the manager, because technically they're creating a hostile work environment that I would definitely not want to put up with. Am I the jerk for refusing to switch project topics after my classmate tried to say that she claimed it before I did? Because after I said no, she's kind of making me feel guilty, and I'm honestly not sure if I'm in the wrong. Here's what's going on. Okay, so in one of my university classes, we had to pick presentation topics from a shared Google Sheet. It was this first come, first serve situation, and the professor said once you put your name down, it's yours. Now, there was one topic everybody wanted because it's easier and has a lot of sources. I checked the sheet the night it opened up, and I saw no one had written their name yet, so I added mine. The next morning, a girl from my class messaged me saying that she was planning to take that one and had already told her friends that she was doing it. She then said she forgot to add her name before going to bed and asked if I could switch with her. The only topics left were more complicated and would definitely require more work. Well, I straight up told her that I was sorry, but I picked it fairly and I didn't want to switch out. Now, some classmates are saying I was technically right, but socially kind of harsh, because apparently everybody knew that she wanted that topic and I could have just been nice. I feel like if she really wanted it, she should have just written her name down, but I also don't want to be that person. So am I the jerk in this situation? Because I honestly don't know what to do now. Okay, there's no way of sugarcoating this. You're absolutely not the jerk. The girl in question in this story, in my opinion, is just lazy and has no business coming to you and being like, oh, but I was gonna do it. I already told everyone that I was gonna do it, so could you just switch with me, please? Like, no, if you wanted it that bad, you would have stayed up like I did and put your name down. She just wants the easy assignment. She doesn't want to have to go through all these complicated ones. She wants the lowest amount of effort possible for this project, just like anybody else. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, but I do think it would be incredibly foolish to give that up, simply because this lady is requesting it. My entitled boomer coworker is intentionally trying to sabotage my job so that I can get fired with her, because I really believe that after she got in trouble with management for literally not doing her job right, she's now trying to drag me down to her crappy standards by getting me in trouble and sabotaging me in a way where I'll get let go at the same time as her. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my boomer coworker has a habit of trying to get me to slack off at work. For context, we both work remote, and she's been getting in trouble lately with our higher ups for poor work quality, claiming it's discrimination because I'm not getting in trouble and it's only her. But my work is solid, and hers is shaky at best all the time. Here's a quick example. I was running slides for an important meeting, and right as the meeting started, we had a massive storm blow through our area. I chatted with her quickly just as an FYI, saying, hey, can you just have the slide deck up and ready in case I lose power? And to that, she said she would. Now, the storm caused no issues, and I finished running the slide deck, but the meeting went over a bit, and we were late for a meeting right afterwards. She then calls me wanting to talk about the first meeting, and I tell her we can discuss it later since we're late for the next meeting. Well, she then immediately tries to get me to just bail on the meeting, saying to me, well, I mean, who's to say you didn't lose internet because of the storm and can't go to the meeting? And I kept saying, well, I didn't lose internet, so I'm going to grab a cup of coffee and then jump into this meeting. But she doubled down and said, well, I think I must have got your storm too, so maybe my internet went out too, so I guess we're both missing this meeting. And at that point, I just hung up on her. I then got my coffee, I went into the meeting, and lo and behold, she was there already. And you know what? I found it weird that she was trying so hard to get me to skip it by acting like she was going to skip it herself, but she went anyways. Which now leads me to the point of this entire post. We are working on a fairly large report together. We split everything and work on different sections. Once we get the data, we have 2 weeks to complete the report. And this coworker would constantly make comments about how much longer it was going to take us to finish the task, even though there was nothing causing us to fall behind. By Friday afternoon, I was ready to send off my section of
the report to be reviewed by our boss. I had told my coworker that I would probably wait until Monday to send it, just so it doesn't get buried in my boss's inbox. She then told me her stuff wasn't going to be ready until Wednesday. So Monday comes and I send my stuff over to my boss for review. My boomer coworker then immediately calls me with an attitude, saying to me, "Yeah, I'm just checking on you to see if everything is good in your neighborhood, because we normally send our stuff at the same time." But I just told her that my stuff was ready and it doesn't make sense for me to sit on it for like 2 days waiting for her stuff before sending mine. The two items are in no way dependent on each other, completely separate sections, and it's never been a policy that we have to send our stuff to our boss at the same time. Well, suddenly she was able to get her stuff out that same day and not on Wednesday, and so it just feels like she's mad that I did it first. I have now officially finished all of my tasks for this report and submitted everything up for review, while she's scrambling to get hers done, claiming she's trying to submit them but her files are too big, and she's working with IT to fix the problem. Now, I personally believe this is just a blatant lie, as her file sizes are smaller than mine, and I had no issue sending them, so how could she? Now, trust me, I could list a dozen other examples, but overall, it just seems like she's been getting a lot of heat from upper management to perform better, and instead of just performing better, she's trying to bring me down and lower the bar for what the expectation is. It turns out just doing the bare minimum for my job is enough to make her look bad, and the more she tries to sabotage me, the more it makes me want to go above and beyond to really highlight her incompetence, because this coworker is honestly such a problem. Oh man, this is one of those situations where seriously, she is obviously trying to get you fired as well. She's failing at her job, she's in a lot of hot water, and she clearly wants a friend to go down with her. And if I was in your shoes, I would never let her do that to you ever. Because like literally now you now know that she's lying, she's just trying to like pull one over on you, and she's trying to make it so that you get in trouble. And that is so awful, like really that's super frustrating. So hopefully this lady gets fired, because like the way she's acting in my opinion is completely uncalled for. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled supervisor tries to micromanage me in a way that is super obnoxious, so I decided to maliciously comply just to get back at her in a way that she will truly never forget. Here's how I did it. So I was working at an organization where part of my job was organizing thousands of high-quality photos of students' artworks from the main computer I worked on and transferring them to a network server. The goal was to make high-quality images accessible to other staff remotely. Now, to do it correctly, the process was time-consuming. It involved making medium-resolution images from high-resolution Photoshop files. Now, the time-consuming part was that each image needed to be individually labeled with specific details about the artwork, as well as its creators, its dimensions, etc. My department manager had emphasized the importance of this task, as these labeled images were important for various organizational needs for other staff. But unfortunately, my new supervisor, Karen, that's obviously not her real name, was a major micromanager. She said to me, "Why are you spending so much time on this project? I only want you to work on this in the last 30 minutes of your shift." Now, I tried to convince her it wasn't an efficient use of my time, arguing that flexibility in my workflow was necessary. I explained that on many days, this task would be an ideal fill-in activity, allowing me to stay productive during otherwise slow periods. But she said to me, "No, just do it in the last 30 minutes of your shift." So I said to her, "Okay, you got it." And that's when my malicious compliance started. On some days, there were literally no other productive tasks to carry on with. I could have made great progress on the task, but no. I would sit there trying to look busy, or walk around the campus with a few sheets of paper in hand. I would try to invent ways to be or look productive, but sadly, in actual fact, I was doing very little at all. This then went on for a few months when one day I had a call from the department manager asking me why I hadn't finished that project yet. I then said to him, "Well, I've been specifically instructed by Karen not to spend any time on this job, except for, the last 30 minutes of my shift." Well, Karen didn't stay with the organization for much longer after that, and trust me when I say this, I was looking forward to that much sooner than later. Oh man, I've been there. Raise your hand if you've been there, because I've definitely been there, dude. This is so annoying. They see what you're doing and they're like, you need to spend less time on this and spend more time doing other things. Only work on this at the end of the day. And then guess what? It never gets done. Literally ever. It just never happens, and it's always your fault somehow. So I just love the fact that you turned this right back on this Karen and said, "Oh no, this is definitely your fault," because she learned very quickly that she can't micromanage like that and actually expect anything to legitimately get done. An entitled Karen literally wants to steal my takeout order all because she's in a hurry, claiming that I can wait just a little bit longer and that she's gotta go because her kids are in the car. And I'm honestly still shocked, because this is the weirdest interaction I've probably ever had in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, so I stopped by a local Thai spot to pick up a takeout order that I had called
called in about 25 minutes earlier. I get there, I get my name, and the guy at the counter says, yeah, just finishing it up, it'll be out in a minute. And I think to myself, okay, no problem, I can wait. Well, then this customer who came in after me marches up to the counter and she says loudly, I need that order, I'm in a rush. The cashier calmly tells her that it's already taken, but she then turns and points at me and says, he looks like he can wait, I've got kids in the car. Now, when she said this, I kind of laughed thinking it's a joke, but clearly it wasn't. She then says to me directly, come on, be kind, just let me take your food, you can wait for the next one. I say to her, ma'am, I ordered this 30 minutes ago and I'm taking it home to my family too. This Karen then actually tries to walk behind the counter to grab the bag that just came up. I mean, the cashier has to block her and say, ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave if you don't calm down. This entitled Karen then storms out, muttering how selfish people are and how this is why the world's falling apart. And it was so shocking to find out the world was falling apart over takeout and not because this Karen was literally super entitled and tried to steal my food. Dude, this is so stupid, like seriously. Who in their right mind's gonna walk into a restaurant and be like, no, I need that food right now. My children are way more important than you. And it's like, dude, you're just too lazy to order and now you're trying to make everybody else be inconvenienced by your idiocracy. Like seriously, that's so dumb, but also if that happened to me, I would be so happy to tell her, no, you're not taking any of my food. Like I think I would find some kind of like sixth satisfaction out of being like, nope, you're not getting it, sorry. Because she even pointed to the original poster and said, you can wait, I've got kids in the car. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna wait actually. I ordered this 30 minutes ago, what do you mean I'm gonna wait? Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you're better than me. And based on the way you're acting, I bet your kids are like exactly like you, so I automatically don't care about your kids. So get lost, go to like McDonald's or something like that. It's not my problem you can't plan dinner properly. So yeah, I love this so much. This is hilarious in my opinion. And I love the fact that she got pissed off that you didn't give her your food, as if you're somehow required to give that up for some stupid reason. An entitled jerk gets pissed off at me when he says I parked way too close to his car. And even though I pointed out that he literally parked over the line, he still tried to blame this on me by saying this is all my fault, leaving me dumbfounded by his utter stupidity. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I was unpacking my university flat yesterday, and when I pulled into the car park, I pulled up next to two empty cars. Usually, people will fill the trunk, and then if they need to get any larger items in, they'll reverse or pull up on the pavement to get the doors open. So I pull in next to this car, and when I get out, I realize that his wheels are in my parking space. But it's no big deal because the spaces are bigger than normal, and my car still fits within the space. So I go up and I start packing bags and boxes, and then start bringing them down. When I get down, the first car is gone, and the second car has moved into its space. This man is at his car with his daughter, packing up her things and watching me walk to my car. I unlock my car, I start putting things in, and then this exchange happens. This guy looks at me and says, next time, don't park so close. I look around and then I look at him and I say, wait, are you talking to me? He says to me, yeah, I couldn't get my doors open. But I just responded by saying, yeah, well, you're parked over the line, man. And then I pointed down at the lines. He said to me, yeah, well, I couldn't even get the doors open. But I responded by saying, well, that's because you were over my space. The man then tried to say that the place is empty, even though it wasn't. And when he said that, he swore at me. So I responded back and said, do not swear at me like that. He then walked away in a huff, and I came back later and another car had parked on his left, so he decided to put a cone in the space to his right so no one could park there. But the best part about it is that someone just moved the cone and parked there anyways. I later saw him twice more today, and he either looked away from me or he hid behind things that he was holding on to. And that to me is just proof enough that he's ashamed of his behavior, because this guy was a massive jerk. Okay, this guy has no business trying to tell people how to park. He's literally parked over the line and he's trying to be like, hey, you need to watch where you're parking. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You literally can't even park in your space. You're over the line and I'm parked normally. Like, if anyone needs to move, it's you and not me. And I love how he's trying to be like, oh, the car park's empty. You could have parked anywhere. Next time, don't park so close to me. It's like, maybe next time, if you learned how to park correctly, this wouldn't be a problem. So I don't know. I hate people who act like this because it really is super entitled, and it just makes you believe that everything's your fault when literally it's all self-inflicted problems. And that's the part I just don't think they will ever understand. An entitled call center worker was rude and incredibly racist to my coworker. So I decided to get some revenge by literally bullying her until she either quit or was fired, because now I no longer have to deal with her and I'm honestly super happy about it. Here's what happened. So my coworker is a very sweet little old Asian lady. She speaks with the accent and grammar of someone who spent most of their life speaking a language other than English. She also happens to be incredibly smart, very kind, and good at her job, as well as a consummate professional. On the other hand, I do not fit the definition of a consummate professional, and you're about to find out why. We had been dealing with this phone rep that we had to call as part of our job. Of all the reps, this lady was the hardest to deal with. She spoke with a southern accent that was so thick it was nearly impossible to understand. Even for me, by the way, and I'm a native lifelong English speaker. And I don't bring this up because
there's a problem with having an accent, but rather to highlight the hypocrisy of the entire situation. This lady asked a multitude of extra questions that none of her counterparts had asked and required extra steps for us to look up things for her. She also wasn't the nicest person in the world. She was snarky, she was terse, and generally very unhelpful. I complained about her a couple of times, but nothing was done about it. One day, my coworker had her on speakerphone, and I overheard the way she was talking to her, and my God, I was not happy. Somehow my coworker could understand her better than I could, so tell me why this chick was talking to my coworker like she was the dirt on the bottom of her shoe. It was in the way she repeated things verbatim if my coworker didn't give her exactly the answer she wanted, answers that she oftentimes already knew, but she still wanted to ask them just to be a pain. She would sigh and groan like she was in abject misery, refuse to answer my coworker's questions, and the tone of utter disgust and disdain in her voice. This lady was obnoxious to me and to others who I would talk to about her, but downright repugnant to my colleague. The more I thought about it, the more I realized everyone else I worked with, except for my one Asian coworker, sounds white or American on the phone, and none of us had received that level of disrespect. There was clearly a pattern. I determined that this lady was being racist towards my coworker, and that even if that wasn't her motive, she was a piece of garbage for talking to literally one of the sweetest and most competent people in that kind of way, which then began my campaign. I knew I couldn't prove that she was anything but generally bad at customer service, and nobody seemed to care about it enough to do anything about it. Therefore, I set out to make her job as hard as possible. I started taking all the calls that had to go through her when I was on shift, and I would drag the calls out as much as I could. I would put her on hold, I would pretend I was fumbling around for information, I would speak over her and give her more information than she asked for, but I would do it really slowly. I would go on deranged and off-topic tangents, anything to waste her time, and always with the sweetest and cheeriest tone I could. She went from snarky and mean to anxious and desperate, and I would like to assume that they had turnaround times they had to meet. I also continued to file complaints about her inefficiency and rude demeanor, and discreetly encouraged others who worked other shifts to also slow down their calls with her. Well, this week I discovered she no longer works at that call center when I went to file another complaint and was told that she's no longer being supervised by the person the complaints were being routed to. So there's really no telling whether or not she left of her own volition or was transferred to another department, which would explain why I haven't had to deal with her this week. Either way, I call it a victory, and hopefully this was a learning experience for her to be a better person. Dude, good for you. I love this so much. I've run into people like this as well, and it's absolutely obnoxious. There's clearly some discrimination going on, but you can't point it out, and it really is like under the surface, so you're like, man, this sucks so much. But I love the way you handled this, and I love the fact that you were filing reports. That is like a fantastic option. Sometimes it literally just takes the supervisor knowing about this for this kind of behavior to like stop immediately. So good for you for taking a stand for your coworker, because from the sounds of it, your coworker is super sweet and they definitely did not deserve this. My dad is consistently using my car, even though he wrecked my previous one, leaving me a nervous wreck every time he leaves for work. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, a year ago, I got a brand new car on finance. I work from home 4 days a week, and my dad works 5 days a week, roughly 50 miles away. I'm in my 20s and I live at home with my dad. My dad has his own car, which is just as nice as mine and meant for long distances and driving on the motorway. But because of the 100-mile round trip daily, he decided to start using my car 4 days a week for work. He told me he was using my new car because he doesn't want to decrease the value of his car when he eventually comes to sell it by increasing the mileage. He also said that because my car is on finance, it belongs to the garage. So I should make the most out of the money that I'm paying and use as many miles as possible. Now, I would agree with this if I weren't limited on my finance agreement and my insurance to a certain number of miles. A total, by the way, that I was getting very close to. To be clear, I am the insurance policy holder and primary driver, which I'm pretty sure is illegal as he drives it more than me, and I'm the keeper of the vehicle. The biggest issue is that the car I have now is not the new car I bought last year. My dad was involved in a crash in that one, and luckily my insurance replaced it with a like for like. However, I was without a car for 3 months, and my insurance skyrocketed. In that time without a vehicle, he never offered to take me anywhere, and I had to pay for taxis or count on lifts from family or friends. I'm glad he wasn't harmed in the accident, but every day I fret until my car is safely parked outside, as I'm scared the same thing will happen, and I will have to go through all the stress of insurance and everything else again, and be even more financially worse off. My dad also isn't someone I can sit down and talk to about this. In this house, it's what he says goes, and it's better that way to prevent things from blowing up. I hope this description of him is all I have to say about who he is as a person, because a civil discussion is completely out of the question. There is a lot of wear and tear on my car, which is likely to have come from his journeys, which he has said he will pay part
part of, which I really hope is true. After his accident, he lowered my rent slightly to account for an additional cost to my insurance. And just to be clear though, I pay for everything to do with this vehicle, apart from when he needs to fuel and I already haven't filled it up. I have lied about the insurance putting additional caps on following the accident that he was in, just to potentially get him to chill out on driving it. But guess what? He literally doesn't. He has even started using it outside of work times. It's a cycle I can't interrupt at this point to not disturb the peace. If there's any clever lie regarding insurance or finances that would dissuade him from using the car, I would really appreciate it, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, it sounds like your dad's a controlling jerk, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. It seems like no is never an answer for this guy, and that is really obnoxious. So I really want to echo one of the comments that basically says like the best thing to do is to keep your head down and get out from underneath your father's control. Get a plan to leave or move out or find roommates or something, because I completely agree with this. The only possible solution is maybe like getting away from your dad and taking the car with you. Any lie or any excuse or even like standing your ground just isn't going to get through to this guy. He's still going to do it and is still going to screw you over again. So hopefully you take that path, because from the sounds of it, it really seems stressful to be living with this guy. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for planning to call the cops on a former friend of mine just to get back my wallet that they took from my home? Here's what happened. Okay, so this is a long story, but after a hurricane last year, a woman who I had become friends with after hiring her as a cleaner went to my house with her son and his friends, and they tossed a bunch of damaged stuff, but also a bunch of not damaged stuff. I was not there, I had evacuated, but I paid her to help me out via Zelly. In the midst of this, she sent me a photo of my main wallet and said she was putting it in her car for safekeeping. Their job was to just take out mattresses, appliances, furniture, stuff like that, and to help clear out the yard. I was returning 2 days later, but those big pieces would be hard for me and my husband to move, and I specifically told her not to throw out any wood items, including my dining room table. When I returned, I was furious because she'd basically trashed my house and threw out stuff that I had already green tagged to stay, and things I told her not to do, and just put them on a huge pile in a way that immediately ruined them. Bunches of my personal stuff, like expensive makeup, was just completely missing. She kept texting saying that she deserved a cash tip for doing such a great job, and at that point, I just lost it. And I let her know exactly how I felt via text messaging. We got into a text battle, and she was all butthurt about it. Well, that was last October, and I have not seen her since, but I've also reached out suggesting that we meet and talk to clear the air. I was just very upset at the time. I mean, my mom had just passed away a week earlier, our house was damaged, and then I come home to find it basically stripped of stuff that I had planned to keep, plus a lot of my personal things that I knew were fine. But she refused to respond, and I gave her a final deadline of last weekend to return my wallet. Now, I feel like after all this time, she is just being very childish. So, would I be the jerk for now going to the police and filing a report against her for stealing it? The wallet was a gift from my mom, but more importantly, it has an expired ID, credit cards, gift cards, etc. And I put a stop to the credit cards, but I don't even know everything that's in it. I just want it back, and I don't think I'm asking too much. What should I do? Holy crap, no, you are not the jerk for wanting to go to the cops. This lady is being super weird. It honestly sounds like she ransacked your house and then was like, okay, cash tip me please. Like, dude, what are you talking about? This is not what you asked for. She basically stole your expensive makeup, a wallet, and God knows what else, and said, okay, see you later. And that is unfair. Like, all you're asking is for her to give back your property. You probably don't even want to talk to her any further. You just want your stuff back. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk if you did want to go to the cops. You have given this person ample opportunity to prove they're not a piece of garbage. And if they really want to mess around, then in my opinion, it's time for them to find out. My toxic entitled sister-in-law tried to force her way into my bridal party and quite literally hijack my wedding. And even though I told her, no, you're not going to do that, she still showed up to my wedding trying to walk down the aisle with my bridesmaids, forcing me to step up and shut her down. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened during my wedding and I simply needed to share it. My fiance and I are planning a small intimate wedding, just our closest friends and family with nothing too over the top. I also picked my bridal party carefully, namely my best friend, my sister, and two of my closest cousins. That is it. We also didn't include someone who I will call Lena, and Lena is the main problem of this story. Now, I didn't include her not because of anything personal, but because we're not close as she lives in another state. We barely talk, and frankly, she's known for being dramatic and making things all about herself. But when the invites went out, I got a long, angry message from her saying, wait, I'm not a bridesmaid. I just assumed I was. I already bought a dress for the wedding and everything. I responded kindly and explained it's a small bridal party of people that I've known and been close to for years. But she said to me, I'm literally your future sister sister-in-law. That automatically makes me one. You can't exclude family like that. Now, I honestly thought that would be the end of it, but I was completely wrong. Lena decided to unilaterally insert herself into all the planning. She created a group chat with my actual bridesmaids without me and started trying to plan the bachelorette weekend in Las Vegas. For context, I don't drink, I hate clubs, and I had already made plans for a relaxing cabin weekend with my girls. And you know what? Lena had never even asked what I wanted. Then she sent me a PowerPoint titled Elevating Your Wedding, Lena's Aesthetic Suggestions. She wanted to change our entire color scheme because the sage green dresses I picked apparently washed her out. And she said we should go with burgundy and gold for a more luxurious vibe. And spoiler, I'm wearing ivory lace in a garden, so it would have clashed horrifically. At this point, I had had enough. I called her and I said, Lena, you are not in the bridal party. You are more than welcome to attend, but you need to stop trying to take over. This isn't your wedding. Well, when I said that, she immediately got defensive. Wow, so now I'm just some outsider. I'm trying to help you make your wedding less basic. You clearly don't know how these things work. Now, I stayed calm and I said to her, no, I know exactly how I want my wedding to be. I'm not asking for your approval, and you are absolutely not going to disrespect my boundaries. Well, fast forward to the actual wedding day, and Lena shows up in a long, dramatic black sequin dress, totally out of place, and she then tried to line up with the actual bridesmaids before the ceremony. I had to personally stop her and tell her to sit down and no, she wasn't walking in with the bridal party. She then spent the whole night sulking at a table and telling anyone who would listen that I was controlling, jealous of her confidence, and trying to push her out of the family, which is 100% not true and honestly super obnoxious to deal with. Holy crap, Lena is insane. She not only tried to hijack your wedding and be like, no, it's mine, I'm gonna make it how I want it, but she also just tried to like casually show up to the wedding and be like, okay, time to be a bridesmaid. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You are literally not invited. Like, what does she think was gonna happen? Did she think you were gonna be like, oh my god, you're right, that black sequins dress, it fits everything I'm looking for. You're now my maid of honor. Get in the front of the row. Like, dude, that's some crazy behavior right there. So good for you for shutting her down. Like, that needed to be said. She needed to be told straight up, no, you're not at my bridal party. No, you can't take over it. And no, you can't join the bridesmaids looking like Morticia Addams from the Addams Family. Like, what is going on right now? Because her behavior is super weird and she literally tried to ruin your wedding. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled sister shares some very personal information about me with our mutual friends. But instead of confronting her directly, I decided to get some petty revenge by bogging down her email and text messaging with so much spam that it nearly made her phone completely unusable. Here's how I did it. So this happened a few years ago, but trust me, this is one of my best revenge stories I've ever had. I have a younger sister who we will call Kelly, and we are only 13 months apart. Despite our close age, we are very different from one another. We joke that I'm the sun child and she is the moon child, which is a way of saying that we're different as night and day. But despite this, we run in similar circles. I know her friends know me, and we all would hang out from time to time. One day, my sister's friend invited her to a party where a lot of our mutuals would be. Now, I wasn't close with the party host, so I wasn't invited, which is totally fine. I didn't care. Anyways, after that party, one of our mutuals texted me. He tells me that Kelly, in an effort to garner attention, told everyone at the party something personal that I confided in her. The friend who notified me was aware of this personal information prior to the party and realized how inappropriate the information was for her to be sharing. Now, for a bit of background, my sister has always been the type to do whatever she can to get attention. She was always the loudest, most dramatic, or just the most energetic in every group of friends that she had. As an adult, she has even admitted to being an attention seeker and would often play up her reactions to things for the attention. This includes throwing me or others under a bus, revealing things that weren't hers to reveal, or just outright lying about situations that she was or wasn't involved in. Needless to say, I was very angry when my friend told me what personal information she shared at the party. But rather than confronting her for the 1000th time, which never got her behavior to change, I decided to get some revenge that was incredibly petty. And it was here that I decided to sign her up for every newsletter, random club update, political campaign support subscription, medical journal subscription, and any other email subscription I could get my hands on. All of them I knew would spam her every day, multiple times a day. I also ended up putting her email into almost 50 different newsletters and subscriptions to bog up her email. Well, at that next family gathering, she mentioned how she thinks she was hacked because she's getting endless emails and text messages about random things that she never signed up for. She chalked it up to probably being some guy she was arguing with over the internet a day or so prior to the emails flooding in, and I agreed it was probably that guy, but then I told her that maybe she shouldn't try to get on people's bad sides in the future by keeping to herself. I then told her a year later what I did, and she literally screams at me and says, "That was you?" And after explaining why I did it, she apologized for having told people at the party, and we eventually made up. In the end, nobody got hurt, but she did finally get to feel as frustrated as I was, and honestly, with all things considered, I don't regret a single thing. Dude, this is great because this hits her in like her private moments when she's checking her email, or when she's like looking at her phone, which from the sounds of it is probably all the time. Like, I know if I was the sister in this story, I would be super pissed off if my email and text messaging was just completely blocked up. Like, literally every single day you're getting all these messages constantly. Like, that would be so annoying. So good for you for getting this revenge, because from the sounds of it, your sister absolutely deserved it. An entitled boomer gives a cashier a hard time for literally no reason, as this young lady was just doing her job but was somehow receiving the blunt end of this idiot's criticism. So I decided to step in and shut her down, completely negating anything that she had to say about this young lady. Let's get started. Okay, I went to Dollar General today, and the young lady at the counter seemed a bit checked out, but was polite and answered my questions as I walked by. Retail on a Friday morning during boomer hour is probably exhausting, but she was being a trooper and getting through it. I ended up finding my one item, and as I limped back up to the front, I saw this boomer lady at our intrepid cashier's counter berating her for something that sounded like the boomer's card not working. So I waited my turn. There was a conversation between the two workers at the registers about a manager, and then it was my turn to check out with our young cashier. Well, I have never seen the light leave someone's eyes in real time. She switched registers while the boomer lady stood at her original counter, fuming to herself about some nonsense in a frequency only fellow idiots can hear. The young lady who had just 10 minutes prior been sweet and helpful was now this burnt husk as she checked me out. I thanked her for her time twice, and I thanked her again for answering my earlier question, but she just shrugged and handed me my receipt. As I was walking out, the boomer lady had found a manager and was yelling at said manager about how the young cashier had been rude and incompetent and just wasn't paying attention to her. Well, after hearing that, I walked up and straight up spoke to the manager like the boomer wasn't there. I said to them, "Excuse me, miss. I just wanted you to know that young lady was actually very helpful and polite and did exactly what she's supposed to, including answering a difficult question. She is just doing her job and did nothing wrong." Now, unfortunately for my uncaffeinated self, my tone was sharper than I intended, which is totally my mistake because this boomer then turned her ire on me, saying that I had a bad attitude as well. Well, I just shrugged and I told her her bad attitude is her own problem, and no one should have to deal with it. And then I thanked the manager again and I left, because I knew I'd barely managed to hold my tongue as it was, and it was about to get worse if I stuck around. The boomer was still complaining as I left, even though now she seemed to have lost some of her steam. I definitely could have handled it better, but hopefully it made a difference. That poor young lady looked really sad, and she definitely did not deserve to get treated like that. Okay, honestly, I am so glad you stood up for that young lady because she absolutely deserved your support. Here she is just doing her job, and guess what? She's not responsible for this idiot's card not working. She's not responsible for any glitches in the system. She's just trying to do her job and do it well. And if anything, this Karen is probably the one at fault. There's a chance that her card's not working because, hey, it's something that she did. Like, it's not the cashier's fault. They didn't have anything to do with that. So truly, the fact that you had a good thing to say about this young lady, and you basically diffused anything this idiot was trying to say, was just absolutely brilliant. Because I would argue that 90% of the time, there's no reason to act like that towards any customer service worker. They're literally just doing their job, and they don't deserve that kind of grief. My job punishes you if you call out of work sick at the last possible minute. So I decided to maliciously comply by showing up to work incredibly ill, but then going home immediately afterwards as I had an awful fever. Here's what happened. To start things out, I work in healthcare, so if someone calls in sick, it is almost mandatory that they have to be replaced. I work the night shift and I don't live very far from work. It happened 2 times that when I woke up to get to work, I just don't feel well and that I won't be able to do my job properly. Now, I didn't do it on purpose. I just don't know I will call in sick until I wake up, which is about an hour before the night shift starts. We have a policy that if someone calls in sick less than 2 hours before their shift starts, they get the code unauthorized absence. It doesn't mean anything, but we can get in trouble for it, and it leaves a bad note on the employee files. Well, one day I did show up to work to not get another unauthorized absence, and also I really thought I could get through my shift. But less than 1 hour into my shift, a colleague says to me that I don't look very well, and that I should go back home. In fact, my temperature was 39 degrees Celsius. So we call my superiors saying I'm too sick and I can't work, so they don't have a choice and they just let me go home. And just as an FYI, if you get sick during a shift, the code on the schedule is sick from the time you leave work. Now, try to find a replacement for me at 1 o'clock in the morning when the evening shift already left and most people sleep at that time. The floor where I work has priority for staffing, meaning that they need to replace me. So after I left, the superior had to move an employee employee from another department, and the floor they moved her from stayed understaffed for the night. Now, my colleague knew I didn't call sick before because I didn't want to get an unauthorized absence, so she told the supervisor how stupid that rule of calling in sick 2 hours before the shift starts really is, and that it doesn't make any sense, as if we know in advance that we're going to be sick while we're sleeping. Also, what if an accident happens while we're on the way to work? Well, I guess they got a meeting or something, because in the following weeks, I noticed in my schedule that the 2 unauthorized absences from the last few months were replaced with sick. So it's like, okay, yeah, what a coincidence. I guess that it's better calling off last minute before a shift than in the beginning of it, especially for the graveyard shift where finding a replacement is way harder. But sometimes it kind of works out that way, and thankfully this time it really did. Oh yeah, I totally agree with the original poster here. That is a stupid policy and a stupid rule. So hopefully that's a permanent change, because seriously, that is incredibly dumb. And it's only meant to punish workers and force people to come in sick, which I really just don't think is a good idea when it comes to healthcare. Today, I messed up by asking the hot merchandise guy for his number at a concert I was going to. And now I'm mortified because I'm pretty sure he may have given me a fake number, as he has not responded to any of my text messages. Here's what's going on. I'm an 18-year-old female, and recently I had the most embarrassing but kind of bold experience, and I now just can't stop thinking about it, and not in a good way. I went to this small concert with one of my best friends. We bought the tickets months ago, and the singer has been one of my favorite artists for years, so I was really excited. I expected a long line and chaos, but when we showed up, there were literally only 3 people waiting for the concert. Since we had time to kill, we went to the merch table to get some sweatshirts. Now, here's where the awkwardness started. I only brought about $100 in cash, and of course, they didn't take it. My friend had to transfer money and use her card, which then led to this huge mess. You know, card declining, trying to swap sizes, lots of, oh, I'm sorry, actually, can I get a small instead? That kind of thing. But the guy working the stand was super nice about it. He was chill, he was patient, maybe a little bit flirty. I am bad at reading signals, but either way, he was hot. Like stupid hot. Tall, muscular, I think you get it. Anyways, we went into the show, which only had about 100 people, really intimate vibe, and the artist was so good. One of his main messages was about how it's better to shoot your shot and just take the L than to live with a what if in your life. And I think you can probably see exactly where this is going. Towards the end of the concert, the hot merch guy walks on stage. It turns out he's the singer's brother. He's 22 and he lives in Los Angeles. I'm 18 and I'm from Colorado, heading to college on the East Coast in 2 months. So not exactly a realistic start. Still, my friend hyped me up and called it a post-concert high, or maybe I was just high on life, but I figured I might as well go for it. After the show, we were chatting with the artist and I asked nervously if his brother would be weirded out if I asked for his number. He kind of just repeated the advice from earlier, but then added in, oh, he gets that a lot. And I'm not sure if that was encouragement or a soft letdown. Anyways, I saw the hot brother back at the merch table talking to 2 older girls. And before I could chicken out, I literally interrupted them and I said, hey, sorry to bug you, but does your number come with the sweatshirts? And at that moment, I thought to myself, who says that? I mean, it just came out of my mouth. He looked kind of confused and I had to remind him that I was the problematic sweatshirt girl from earlier. Then I clarified I was looking for his number, and to my surprise, he said sure and typed a number into my phone. I then walked away thinking, oh my gosh, I just did that. And one of the girls who was talking to him laughed and gave me a low high five. I couldn't tell if she was being supportive or making fun of me, but I didn't really think about it too hard. Once I walked over to my friend, I texted him something simple. Hey, this is the girl in the pink dress from the concert. And you know what? He hasn't responded. And now I'm spiraling. Was I super awkward? Did he give me a fake number? Did I weird him out? I'm not usually this bold, and the more I think about it, the more mortified I feel. Well, at least I tried, right? Because right now I feel pretty dumb. Oh man, I wouldn't be embarrassed by that. This was a fun opportunity to try and be more bold and try and ask someone out, even if it didn't quite go your way. The stakes were pretty low in this situation. And while he probably did give you a fake number, at least you tried. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with trying. Am I overreacting for calling off the wedding after my fiance kissed another guy on her bachelorette trip and then lied to me about it right to my face? Here's what's going on. Okay, I'm 32 years old and I was supposed to get married in 2 months. My fiance is 30, and last weekend she went on what she described as a chill girls trip for her bachelorette party. She told me it was going to be just 4 of her closest friends, some wine tasting, some spa stuff, and a private chef at the Airbnb. Now, I had no issue with it, and I even helped her pick the place out. A couple of days after she got back, I got a random Instagram message from some guy saying that my fiance was all over another man during her trip. But you know what? I just ignored it and I blocked him. I figured it was someone trying to stir the pot or something like that. But then I got an email from the Airbnb host. They thought I was the one who booked the place and asked if we wanted to leave a review. They also attached a few Ring camera photos photos from the porch as a heads up since a few extra guests stopped by. And in one of the photos, my fiance is clearly kissing a shirtless guy outside around 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, when I saw this, I confronted her. She first denied anything happened and then finally admitted to it after I showed her the photo. She said it was a dare and that she was drunk and it meant nothing. She says I'm overreacting and that I should not throw everything away over one stupid moment. But you know what? I called off the wedding. Her friends are now messaging me saying I'm being extreme and that every bachelorette party gets wild, and it doesn't mean that she loves me any less. Her mom even said that I'm embarrassing the family by overreacting. So is it really that crazy to end the relationship over this? I feel like if she could do that and then lie to my face, then marriage is out of the question. So truly, am I overreacting right now? Because I seriously don't know what to do. Holy crap, dude, this is super sketchy. There's no way this is okay. Like, I'm legitimately astonished that anybody's taking her side right now. Like, I understand stepping up for like your family and being there for them when there's some kind of like strife or drama, but this is not one of those situations where you can like take her side and be like, oh yeah, she's right. Because she was literally kissing and making out with some guy who is definitely not her soon-to-be husband. Like, I don't know about you, but that's a deal breaker across the board. So no, you're not overreacting by saying, yeah, I'm not gonna get married to you. Anyone who's agreeing with her and being like, oh, come on, it's not that big of a deal, they are literally part of the problem, and this is just not something I would ever ignore. Am I the jerk for not paying for something I ordered and walking out after my friends literally tried to pressure me into drinking? And despite the fact that I said no multiple times, they still refused to listen to me and just walked all over my boundaries. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I have a friend group with 5 women, including me. Their ages range from between 21 to 26. This happened yesterday, and I need opinions on whether I was right to walk out without paying or if I was wrong for doing so. So yesterday was my friend's birthday, and we'll call this friend Lily for the sake of the story. She just turned 21 and wanted a birthday dinner at a fancy restaurant. Me and 4 other girls were in attendance, and all of my friends drink aside from me. I'm just not a drinker. I've never been one and will never be one. My friends and I get seated down, and Lily, all happy, suggests me to buy an alcoholic beverage. Well, I refuse, and the rest of my friends decided to chime in and tell me to just get one. But again, I said no. They know I don't drink and how I feel about it, but basically them begging me to get a drink kept going on for like 5 minutes. They even sent a waiter away because I hadn't agreed yet. Now, I'm not good under pressure, especially when multiple people are telling me to do one thing. I eventually said yes though because they just kept on begging. Lily even suggested a drink and said that this one's for beginners. You know, whatever that means. But I told them that I didn't want it and that I know I won't like it. But they said that I will. The drink came, and as I stated, I didn't like it. And after one sip, I just wanted it gone. They told me to keep trying, but I just simply refused. And luckily, they finally dropped it. Anyways, the bill comes along and I separated the meal that I got from the drink. They all asked me why I did that, as I should be buying the drink, but I said I wasn't buying it since I didn't willingly get it. They begged me to get it, knowing I didn't want it. Lily then said that I could have said no, but I did. I said it many times. They then kept going back and forth with me on it, and eventually I just got up and I walked out of the restaurant. I sent the money for my meal to Lily and stated that if she or no one else was going to buy the drink, then they should not have begged me to get it. My husband stated I wasn't in the wrong and that I should distance myself from them. However, the text messages from all 4 of them just haven't stopped, and now I'm not sure if I'm the jerk. What should I do? Okay, the fact that your friends seriously try to pressure you into drinking, like that is some high school juvenile crap. Not to mention, it's incredibly disrespectful, and that for me marks them as not good friends or even friends in the first place. Like seriously, they pressured you into drinking after you said, guys, I don't drink, please stop. And then when you say, no, I'm not gonna pay for it, Lily seriously has the audacity to be like, oh, well, you could have said no. But it's like, dude, are you deaf? I literally said no so many times. I don't like drinking, I don't want to do this. And yet these people forced the original poster to do this even though they really didn't want to. That is messed up and not okay. So no, you're not the jerk for not paying. These people are not friends, they're not good people, and the fact that they stomped all over your boundaries and then tried to make this look like it was your fault, that in my opinion is super toxic, and you do not need that in your life. Today, I found out that my roommate is a kleptomaniac, as she has literally been stealing from me and everybody else in the house we all live in. And right now, I want to move out, but I seriously am not sure what to do next. Here's what's going on. So I lived in a shared boarding house, and I share a small room with one of my college friends who we will call Lily for the sake of the story. At first, it felt nice to live with someone I already knew. We split rent and everything seemed fine. But after a few months, I started noticing strange things. Lily's closet was odd. She had a ton of random stuff like multiple bike chains, padlocks, and even hotel-sized soap bars. I didn't think much of it at first, and I just assumed that she she liked to collect things or maybe had her reasons. Then one day I noticed that one of my favorite pairs of pants had gone missing. I figured maybe it got mixed up in the laundry or someone accidentally took it, but 3 days later I saw Lily wearing my pants. I recognized the ink stain on the hem of it, so there was no doubt it was mine. Now I was shocked, but I didn't confront her directly because I was still trying to process it. Maybe she thought it was hers or something like that, but it was still weird. But then things escalated. Over the next month, more and more people in our boarding house started losing clothing, especially from the shared clothesline area. At first, we thought it was just mix-ups, but it became too frequent, and some items were too specific to be accidents. One of the girls in the house became suspicious and suggested we do a room-by-room check, and everyone agreed just to clear the air. When they came to our room, I let them in without a problem, but when they checked Lily's closet, they found a lot. Clothing that didn't belong to her, including stuff other girls had reported missing. Not just clothing, but weird things too. Random soaps, multiple padlocks, a bike chain, and even an empty shampoo bottle that someone else recognized. Well, it turns out that Lily might be a kleptomaniac. I was completely creeped out. I never imagined the person I slept next to every night was stealing from not only me, but everyone around her, and not even valuable stuff. Just small, bizarre things. And now I want to move out as soon as possible. But some people say that I'm being too harsh, and that I should be more understanding because kleptomania is a mental health issue. And don't get me wrong, I get that, and I do feel sorry for her, but I also feel incredibly uncomfortable and violated. So am I overreacting for wanting to leave and cut contact? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, anyone who's trying to blame you for wanting to move out is insane. Yes, it's a mental health issue, but guess what? They're not managing it. And before you know it, all your stuff is gonna be gone. Like seriously, this is an easy one. I would be moving out tomorrow if I found out my roommate was stealing from me, which is of course after getting all my stuff back from my scumbag roommate. So no, you're not the jerk, and honestly, I think it might be a good idea to start that process sooner than later, because having a roommate like that is honestly incredibly sketchy. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My mom is constantly asking me for money, to a point where I literally feel guilty if I don't do it, and I'm honestly not sure what to do now. Here's what's going on. I'm a 17-year-old female, and I live in a single-parent household with just my mom and my brother. I feel like my mom is holding me back and doesn't want me to be independent, and is taking advantage of me even though she claims she wants me to do better than her. She quite literally refuses to teach me how to drive, even though I'm almost 18 years old with a permit. I had a fast food job for about 6 months before I got fired, and I managed to rack up about $1,300. This money was my savings from my car, and mind you, it was her idea for me to save my money. Well, the second I got fired, she yelled at me for an hour, and then she guilt-tripped me about how she claims that I would rather save my money than put food on the table, and that I don't help out in the household, while also saying how I don't do anything in the house or appreciate her. Ever since that argument, she repeatedly kept asking for my money almost every single day. Half of it was on fast food, and half was used on my braces, which she totally blindsided me on that. So my money was gone in 2 to 3 months, and I ended up in negatives for months until just recently. And mind you, she still owes me money. I just graduated high school and I received graduation money, and I had not even had the money for an hour, and she already had to make me spend it. It's been like 2 weeks since I've graduated, and she has been asking me every day, even after I tell her no, I don't have it, yet she still just comes up with solutions and will just not stop bothering me about it. I'm honestly sick of it, and even though we do struggle, I feel like she purposely puts us in this predicament because she could choose to get another job but claims that she's scared. She chose for us to live in a place that we can barely afford, and I think it's honestly so selfish. At this point, I don't know what to do. I turn 18 in a week soon, but I'm afraid that if I say no to her and I put my foot down, she'll try to argue with me again, but also it's just not my responsibility to deal with her financial issues that she caused herself, because at the end of the day, you can only save and help yourself, and she isn't doing anything to do that. But also a part of me felt bad because it's like we can barely afford the bills, but then again, I resent her for this. So how do I keep my money a secret and keep it away from her? What should I do? Okay, honestly, I think you need to understand the fact that she is definitely using you. She's making it seem like, oh, if you don't give me this money, we're gonna starve, we're gonna get evicted, or some other bogus excuse that she's coming up with. She is just trying to make you feel bad because you're the easiest target right in front of her. So on that end, first of all, there's nothing wrong with saving your own money, but secondly, she has no say over it. She literally should not have any access to it, and if you haven't done it already, you should definitely make a new bank account when you're 18 so that you have full control over your money and she can't even look at it. Because I bet what's going on right now is the fact that you're a minor. She's most likely on your account account as well, so she can see, oh, you've got some money in there. And then she winds up her guilt-tripping routine, and then you're the one that has to suffer. So yeah, I think it honestly comes down to the fact that you have every right to like completely tell her no, and then to just literally save your funds and find a way to move out, because your mom right now is treating you very poorly. And this is not something a 17-year-old should ever have to deal with. Am I overreacting for feeling hurt after my girlfriend basically said she's not proud to introduce me to her friends, all because I'm a mechanic? Here's what's going on. I'm a 24-year-old male, and I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year. She's amazing, she's smart, she's driven, she's getting her graduate degree in clinical psychology. I mean, she is everything to me. Her friends are all in that same academic bubble, and her family is pretty status focused. I didn't finish college, and I work full-time as a mechanic, and I actually really like my job. I make solid money, and I'm proud of how far I've come without a degree. Well, anyways, she invited me to a dinner party this weekend to meet her friends, and I was excited. I mean, it felt like a step forward. But right before we left, she got weirdly quiet and finally said, "Just try not to bring up work too much, okay? They could be a little judgy." I didn't even know how to respond when she said that. Then she added, "It's not that I'm not proud of you. I just don't want you to feel awkward or out of place." And when she said that, that really hit me. I kept it together, but the whole night I felt off. I barely talked, and it just felt like I was being prejudged before even walking in the door. When we got back to her place, I told her how much it hurt that it felt like she was really embarrassed of me. But she said I was twisting things and making it bigger than it was. She looked at me and said, "I just want you to be the best version of yourself." Well, ever since then, I've been distant. She's acting all normal, but I just can't shake how it made me feel. I don't know if I'm being too sensitive or if this is something that I should just brush off, but right now I'm wondering if I'm overreacting because this really hurt. Oh man, this really does suck. For the record, being a mechanic is a totally fine job. So for me, the way your girlfriend's acting is super toxic, and it kind of leads me to believe that she's drinking the Kool-Aid her family's giving her. Like she's believing what they're saying about him, and so she's trying to be like, okay, well just don't talk about your job that much. Like that would really sting. Like, good lord, you're proud of your work, you work really hard, I could imagine. I know I could never be a mechanic, like that's way too complicated for me. And here she is trying to be like, let's just get through this and you just not mention your job, because they're gonna judge you. Which also says, oh, and by the way, I'm not gonna support you if they do that vocally. So no, I don't think you're overreacting, and I don't think this is something you should just brush off, because in my opinion, this is a big red flag of how the rest of your relationship could be if you guys end up getting married. And so far, it definitely does not look good. Am I the jerk for canceling a family vacation to the United States, as I felt it wasn't safe to go there based on everything going on in the world right now? Here's what happened. I'm a 39-year-old female, and I'm turning 40 later this year. At the beginning of the year, I was planning a vacation in celebration of my birthday for a popular tourist spot in the United States. For reference, we are in another country. Because of some personal circumstances with most of my close friends, they said early enough that they would not be able to make it. They all had very valid reasons, and it's been a garbage year so far, so it's all good. But luckily, a few family members who live in a different country than I do, also not in the United States, said that they wanted to come, so I was excited all over again. I booked a vacation house for all of us, but made sure I could cancel with a full refund, as stuff in the United States was starting to get really bad. One family member went ahead and booked their flights, which I thought was a bit premature, but I hope for the best. Well, fast forward a couple of months, and things in the US seem very unstable to me, and myself and my partner and another travel mate, all in the same country, decided that we did not feel safe traveling there this year, and possibly for the foreseeable future. So we let my relative know right away, and offer to cover any loss on the ticket they might have, whether refunding it or cover the change fees, whatever cost there was going to be to book someplace else, we would basically work it out. I said I did not want them to be out of anything at all for our decision, and said that we would pick another destination outside of the United States together, which would be somewhere everyone wants to go. Weeks go by, and still I have no word from this relative. The others we've informed were disappointed but completely understood, and when we suggested a new destination, this one relative just says in a group chat that they are not interested in joining us regardless of where we choose. And it's like, okay. So I decided to reach out to them in private to discuss it, and basically just say if they're upset, I want to make it right. They reply saying that there's no point in talking about it is what it is, and then they refuse to say any more. So now I'm feeling like a jerk, but at the same time, I cannot in good conscience step foot in that country right now. What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, this is one of those things where they're like, no, it's fine, whatever. Don't say anything else about it, I don't want to talk about it. Like that kind of passive-aggressive behavior, in my opinion, should not be rewarded. So no, you're not the jerk. You literally did not feel comfortable coming to the United States, and honestly, as someone who lives here, I don't blame you. And you did your best to try and like inform everybody so everybody knows about it. And if this relative wants to be weird about it and be like, oh, it's
fine, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. Then fine, there's nothing to talk about. Because if they want to give this weird passive-aggressive attitude, then congratulations, what you're saying is what you mean. Because for me personally, I would not want to put up with that in the slightest. I found out that my boyfriend's cheating on me with his coworker, and I literally found out by going through his phone where I saw he was talking about marriage with this other lady. And now after being with him for over 6 years, I feel like my entire world is crashing down. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my boyfriend and I have been together for 6 years. 6 years of birthdays, holidays, Sunday brunches, and late night phone calls where we fall asleep on the line. He was my first real everything. The kind of love that people write songs about, or so I thought. I don't know what changed really, maybe nothing changed. And maybe I just started to finally notice the little cracks in a foundation I believe to be solid. It started with a feeling, an ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. He was acting different. Not colder and not cruel, just different. He was too careful, too distant, too polite in a way that didn't feel like him. My gut kept nudging me to check his phone. And believe me when I say I never had. Not once in 6 years. That's how much I trusted him. But that night, something broke inside of me. Or maybe something finally woke up. I waited until he fell asleep next to me, and I unlocked his phone with a code I'd known for years but never used. I opened up his chats with my hands shaking. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. And then I saw her name, his coworker. I knew they were friendly, he'd mentioned her before, but always so casually. I thought nothing of it, but their messages weren't casual. They were long and warm and intimate, flirty and really familiar. And there it was right in the middle of the thread. Them talking about marriage. Marriage of all things. He had never ever brought that up with me. Every time I mentioned it, he would smile and say that he just wasn't ready, that it was something he'd take seriously when the time came. One time he said to me, "Oh, I'll propose when I'm really sure." And I remember it so clearly because it hurt, but I respected it. But he was sure enough with her though. I didn't wake him up, I just sat there all night staring at those images, trying to understand how someone could hold your heart in their hands for 6 years and then just misplace it like that. When he finally woke up and saw my face, he knew exactly what was going on. He didn't even try to deny it. He just started apologizing over and over, said he'd been close with her for about 4 months, but it didn't mean anything and he didn't want to lose me. He begged me not to walk away. He said he still loved me, that it was just a mistake. But how do you accidentally talk about a future with someone who isn't the person you've been building a life with for 6 years? And what's the worst part about all of this? She has a boyfriend too. A whole other person whose world is probably about to crash, just like mine did. He says he doesn't want to break up, but I mean, how do I stay? How do I stay with someone who made me feel like I was just a placeholder for something better? Because right now I feel incredibly lost. Okay, honestly, there's no way in the world I would ever stay with someone like that. Seriously, this is not some kind of like dramatic moment where it's like, oh, I'll stick with you. Like for me, this would be a deal breaker. This guy literally strung you along for 6 years and started sniffing around towards someone else 4 months ago. Like I'm pretty sure I can confidently say this guy just doesn't care about you. If he cared about you, he wouldn't be cheating on you. And guess what? That's exactly what he's doing. Him talking about marriage with this other lady, yeah, that's him cheating and saying, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. And by the way, I find it kind of suspicious that he's like, oh, I don't want to lose you. But it's like, dude, if you didn't want to lose her, then why did you entertain this other lady by talking about marriage? Like, dude, you don't know her nearly as well as the person sitting right next to you. So to the original poster, I am so sorry this is happening to you. You do not deserve this. And I really hope things get better for you overall across the board. Because your boyfriend right now absolutely sucks and you deserve way better. I got some petty revenge on my vice principal at my school without breaking any rules that he could possibly identify. And I still laugh about the entire situation even to this day. Here's what I did. Too many years ago in my junior year of high school, we had a particularly nasty vice principal. For some reason, he seemed to have it in for me, constantly making critical remarks and often getting me into trouble over petty stuff. I mean, I really hated this guy. My daily walk to school involved taking a shortcut behind a liquor store a couple of blocks from my school, where the loading dock usually had stacks of boxes with empty bottles of booze. So one day I picked one up and I took it to school. During lunch in the cafeteria, I took it out and I pretended to be drunk, to make my friends laugh. Afterwards, I tossed the bottle in the trash and I went to class, unaware that a staff member, likely a custodian, had come across it and reported it to the vice principal. The following morning, during the pre-class public address, the vice principal gave the school a stern lecture about alcoholism and the consequences of being caught with alcohol or being intoxicated, which included suspension. It was then that I realized I had inadvertently found a way to cause him some grief without actually breaking any rules. So over the next few days, I started collecting more small empty liquor bottles and hiding them in various inconspicuous places around the school and the grounds, like the bathrooms, the changing rooms, empty lockers, janitor closets, auditorium stage, cage, and the track and field storage box. I even snuck one into the teacher's lounge. In the days that followed, it was quite something to witness the school administration descend into near panic. At one point, they even initiated a partial school lockdown as teachers and staff tried to identify the drunk student or students. Well, as a 15-year-old, I don't think I'd ever laughed so hard. I'm pretty sure the vice principal heard some rumors and suspected it was me, but he could never prove it, and technically, I hadn't broken any rules that I was aware of. And that really was my first taste of the pleasure of messing with people that I disliked. Oh man, that's really funny. You definitely should not do that if you're listening, by the way. That's a bad idea and you're gonna get in trouble. And I think the original poster got incredibly lucky, like, let's be honest here. But I do find this a funny way to get back at this vice principal, especially one that really seems like they have it out for you, because that really is super obnoxious. Would I be the jerk if I called out my husband's family for intentionally neglecting my husband while he was graduating and earning a degree that he worked incredibly hard for? Here's what's going on. I want to start off by saying that my husband's family is very close. He has a few brothers and they do nearly everything together. My husband left home for his career, and I personally feel as though his family has always resented him for that. Within the last few years, my husband's career brought us closer to both of our families, so we have been able to visit more often. And for us, this means driving a few hours a few weekends a month to spend time with both families. And I can count on one hand the amount of times his family has driven to us. Granted, both of our families live close, so often it's easier for us to come to them, but regardless, we do a lot of driving. Now on to the issue at hand. My husband has been working very hard at his education. He recently earned a degree and wanted to attend his graduation in another state. We have known about this graduation for months and let each family member know all of the details. His family never confirmed their attendance, and they just danced around the topic for a while. Fast forward to the graduation, and only a few family members attended and hardly even spent time with us while in this other state. His family gave excuses like, oh, we have to work, or they'll be like, oh, it's too far away. However, the weekend right after the graduation, they all got into their cars and drove multiple hours through the night to attend a birthday party for a family member whom, by the way, they haven't even seen in years, and they only got the invitation 2 weeks prior to the event. Well, this is extremely upsetting to me as I sit back and watch my husband fulfill major accomplishments in his life with little to no support from his immediate family. He does so much for them in terms of support and love, but it feels as though it's not reciprocated. I know they love him, but this seems selfish and mean to do that to him. He would never speak on it to them because that's just not how they communicate, but I really want to call them out on it. Ask them why they would do this to him and make him feel as though his accomplishments don't matter, or that a random family member they haven't seen in years deserves their time, but he doesn't. So would I be the jerk if I called them out? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, I can see both sides of this, but in my opinion, it just doesn't seem worth it. These people seem like the kind of people who would literally resent you forever for doing that. And sure, you want to support your husband, but also it's like, well, wait a second. This could end really badly because these people could easily turn this against you forever. So no, you're not the jerk in this situation because his family sounds like absolute garbage human beings. My neighbor ran over the trash he kept piling up at my door, as he would constantly put it there as he didn't want to deal with it in his garage. But I'm honestly so glad that I got some petty revenge on this guy by literally forcing him to pick up all the garbage that he trashed all across the parking lot, simply because he wasn't paying attention. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I live in a small studio apartment, and due to the layout of the building, my whole apartment is directly above the downstairs neighbor's garage. Now, I picked the apartment because I have a large dog with a lot of energy, and I didn't want to have anyone living below me, and trust me, this was a massive mistake. The downstairs neighbors keep finding new ways to disrupt my daily life. In the winter, he would warm up his truck in his garage for 30 minutes with the radio cranked so loud it rattled my dishes in the cabinet. He would then leave his garage open all day, making it harder to hear in my apartment. And he would do the same thing in the summer. He just leaves the door open all day, which is against building rules, by the way, making it almost impossible to cool down my apartment. And on top of that, instead of putting his garbage outside his apartment door, he likes it up on my doorstep because he stores his garbage cans in the garage. At least once a week, I find his garbage blocking my door. I've spoken to him and building management several times, but still, nothing's changed. But finally, this weekend was my breaking point. He had some party on Saturday, and I came home to my door literally being blocked by a half a dozen overflowing bags of cans, as well as some bottles and a lot of garbage. So I took all of them and I stacked them in front of his garage door. And I set them up in such a way where they would tip over when he opened the door, so he would absolutely have to grab them. Well, instead, he must not have noticed and just backed out of his garage and dragged garbage all over the parking lot. I then got to watch him spend a good 30 minutes picking it all up and rebagging it before he could finally leave. So hopefully this means no more garbage piled up
up at my door because this guy is truly obnoxious to deal with. Dude, what that guy's doing is like a fire hazard. What is he thinking? You can't block someone's door with garbage. Also, why on earth is he putting it in front of your door? Like, that's really dumb and it feels super targeted. So I think with all things considered, you probably could have gone a lot harder on this guy, but I don't blame you for just doing that because it seems like he worked out his karma in a roundabout way on his own. My best friend confessed to me that she is actively cheating on her fiance all before their wedding, saying that she's gonna cut off their affair partner before the wedding, thus making everything fine in her mind. But after she told me this information, I decided to back out as her maid of honor. And now she's saying that I'm betraying her trust and that I'm being a judgmental jerk for what she's choosing to do. And at this point, I'm honestly blown away and I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. This story also came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. If you want to share your own stories, check the link in the description and submit them because we would love to hear what you have to say. Let's get started. Okay, so this has been eating at me and I honestly don't know if I'm doing the right thing or just being dramatic. My best friend and I have been super close for over a decade. We grew up together but now live in different states. She's been in a relationship with her girlfriend for 5 years and a few months ago they got engaged. And of course, she asked me to be her maid of honor and I said yes, no hesitation. I was genuinely happy for her, but then things got complicated. Not long after the engagement, she started confiding in me, telling me that she had been cheating on her fiance. And not like a one-night mistake. This has been a full-on secret relationship that's been going on for a while. She told me she felt guilty and knew it was wrong, and she also shared a lot of issues in her current relationship, saying she was thinking about ending things. I didn't agree with what she was doing, but I figured she was processing everything and trying to get to a place where she could break up and be honest. I tried to be supportive while encouraging her to face it. Well, fast forward to now, and it's been months, and she is still with her fiance. Nothing's changed. In fact, she's now planning the wedding like everything's perfect. We're all supposed to be home for the holidays and hang out with our old high school friend group, including her fiance, and I honestly just can't do it. I haven't seen her fiance since I found out about all of this, and I feel sick thinking about pretending everything's fine. I mean, I did not sign up to carry this kind of secret. So I called my friend and gently told her that I care about her, but I'm not okay being involved like this, and I can't be her maid of honor knowing what I know. I said I'm not comfortable being around the two of them as a couple unless something changes, and I wasn't mean, I was just honest. Well, when I said that, she flipped out. She said I was a terrible friend, said that I betrayed her confidence, and that she never would have told me anything if she knew I judge her like this. But I told her I haven't told anyone, and I wouldn't, like that's not the issue. But if she's asking me to smile and stand by her at a wedding that's built on a lie, well, I just can't do that. That's when she admitted she never planned on telling her fiance and still fully intends to marry her. She thinks as long as she's cut off the affair before the wedding and no one ever finds out, it's fine and everyone's happy. And I was honestly shocked and I had no idea she was going to just move on like nothing happened. It feels so wrong to me. It still does. Now she won't talk to me and I'm pretty sure our friendship is done. I didn't want to lose her, but I also can't be a part of this lie. It hurts so much and honestly right now I don't know what to do. Dude, this is messed up. Like seriously, your best friend is cheating on their fiance like actively right now and they think it's gonna be okay just to cut them off and move on like nothing happened? Like what are you talking about? The fiance in the story deserves to know. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should go do that because you know the situation way better than I do or way better than anyone listening, but I know if this were me, I 100% would go up to them and be like, look, they're cheating on you. And I would tell them everything. Like, dude, there is no loyalty when it comes to that. There's no excuse and there's no sympathy. You can't just do that to someone and expect to get away with it. Like, that's messed up. So no, you are definitely not the jerk for backing out of this wedding because I'm pretty sure any rational person would be like, yeah, I'm not going to be a part of this. And the fact that she's trying to guilt trip you over this is just completely uncalled for. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My dad has banned me from my younger siblings' lives, all because I wouldn't meet him on his terms. But after dealing with his awful attitude and behavior for my entire life, I now feel like I'm at my breaking point and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 31-year-old male and I was raised mostly by my grandparents. My mom lived with us, but she was verbally awful and somewhat absent. And my dad never lived with me and wasn't involved in my day-to-day life. He and my mom never married, and I lived only with my grandparents starting in the 10th grade. My dad had custody of my younger half-brother and eventually married my second stepmom who had 2 kids of her own. Together, they also had 2 younger children who are now 13 and 8 years old. Growing up, my dad rarely showed up for any sports games, school events, or even Father's Day. He rarely contributed financially. In fact, I found out when I was 18 years old that he had been failing to keep up with his child support, and when I confronted him about it, he
blew up on me and said he wished he never met my mom. He then ghosted me for 6 months until I reached out again on his birthday trying to be the bigger person. From my late teens through my 20s, I was always the one initiating contact. Despite moving almost 2 hours away for university, I was the one planning visits, buying gifts for his younger kids, reaching out for birthdays, holidays, etc. He rarely reciprocated. I've only ever been invited to a few things. When I moved out in 2021 with my partner, I started pulling back a bit. And at that point, I had also started therapy for physical and mental health issues and began unpacking a lot of family drama. My half-brother went no contact with him 5 years ago and moved out due to the physical and verbal mistreatment. And I also found out that similar things happened with his first stepmom and my mom. Knowing this, I didn't feel safe being emotionally vulnerable with him, especially because he tends to lash out when confronted. In 2023, I reached out to make Christmas plans like I always do, and my stepmom said my dad was sick. I followed up a few weeks later offering to drop off gifts for the kids, but I didn't get a response for another month. When my dad finally replied, it was out of the blue. He said my stepsister and him got into an argument, and she made a comment that I wanted nothing to do with him, and then texted me to say, "Have a nice life." I clarified that I never said that, and I tried to have a real conversation about how distant our relationship has been. I asked if we could meet one-on-one, and he said he would get back to me. I also asked what happened between them, but he wouldn't tell me. Well, shortly after, I found out my stepsister had called 911 on him for how he was treating the youngest kids, which is what started this entire argument. He also sent a really scary message to my half-brother, you know, the one that went no contact, saying that he'd show up at his work and fight him. And my other stepbrother, who's 29, exchanged a lot of words with my dad as well. But when I asked my stepmom what was going on, she claimed to know nothing. I suggested to talk as a family to put an end to all of this, but none of my siblings were down. And I asked my dad to let me know his schedule, just so we could meet up for a one-on-one. Also, so I could invite him to come over to my place, since he, my two step-siblings, and my two youngest half-siblings all live together under my stepmother's roof. And to that, my dad just said he would let me know. Well, 9 months went by and I didn't hear from him. I then found out that I wasn't invited to my youngest sibling's birthday, which was a first. Even my step-siblings, who have never gotten along with my dad, still got invites. And prior to this, my half-brother, who went no contact, would also get an invite. When I asked my dad and stepmom why, my dad told me that he said not to invite me. I said that made no sense, considering I had been reaching out to still wish happy birthdays, holidays, Mother's and Father's Days to them, while waiting for him to get back to me, and he just never did. Eventually, my stepmom offered to schedule a meeting with just the three of us. My dad agreed and then tried to cancel behind her back so she wouldn't be there, and instead asked when I can meet with him one-on-one. Well, I refused to change the date since he never got back to me last time for 9 months, and the only time he tried to meet up was twice before. Once he messaged me near midnight to meet up first thing in the morning, and another time after I called him out about the birthday, he asked if I can meet the same day during work hours. So when I said let's just stick to the plan with my stepmom, he flipped out. He berated me, threatened me, called me names, and you know what? I just blocked him. My stepmom said she understood and offered to bring the kids to visit me instead so I could still give them their Christmas gifts, because by this time it was almost Christmas of 2024. But days before the visit, she told me my dad forbade her from letting me see the kids and that he was cutting me off until I was man enough to speak to him, because I had asked to meet and for him to let me know his schedule, you know, so we could plan a date in advance multiple times, and he just kept ghosting me or suggesting impossible times. Since then, my stepmom has chosen to side with him. She admitted that he was wrong, but said that she wouldn't argue with him either, so I stopped reaching out to them. I didn't message her Happy Mother's Day or either of them Happy Birthday this year at all. To clarify, I'm still open to speaking with my stepmom. She's reached out to me a few times via text messaging, which was a few months after all of this went down, just to send me pictures of my youngest half-siblings, and we have talked, but I'm just so exhausted from all of this, and then pretending like nothing has happened. So right now, I'm honestly feeling so distraught, and I just don't know what to do. Oh man, honestly, it kind of seems like you've done everything you can do in this situation, and I don't blame you for going no contact with your dad at all. Like, he does sound like a piece of work, and it seems like he just doesn't care. He's not willing to make time for you, and he's just not willing to like be a dad for you. So in that regards, I'm so sorry that this is going on, and hopefully you find some kind of resolution to this, because this sounds incredibly frustrating to deal with. Am I the jerk for being selfish and considering my dream job offer, even though it would uproot my life and my fiance's life in the process? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 27-year-old female, and I've been with my fiance, who we will call Kate, for almost 3 years. I finished a degree in engineering. However, my dream has always been to work in fashion, but I wanted a safe fallback career in case fashion didn't work out. I've run a fashion blog since university, and over the past few months blown up and have a small following. Now, Kate has always been supportive of this, and I have told her before
swore that if offered a job in fashion, I would take it. Well, I got offered an internship for a big name in fashion media after someone came across my blog and got told I can have a week to review the offer. It would be a big pay cut as an intern from my current job. However, it can convert to a full-time offer if I impress them, and it is also in a different city. Now, my sister lives there, and she would be okay with me staying over, plus the intern salary would cover all of my expenses. I told Kate about the offer last night after I had spoken to my sister, and you know what? She was really upset. If I take the offer, I have to move, and Kate doesn't like my sister's city as it is way more expensive than ours and knows no one there. She also got upset that I had sorted out where I was living before telling her. But the thing is, I only texted my sister to ask and not as a way of confirming anything. But she was pissed off that she didn't know first. She called me selfish, but I tried to tell her that I hate my job and I want to break into this industry. I have some savings and I don't want to regret turning this offer down. Kate thinks I'm selfish for only thinking about myself when considering this offer, as she earns a little less than me and can't afford to pay rent by herself if we are long distance, and all of her friends and family are near our city. She also thinks there's no guaranteed job at the end of this, and it could wipe all of our savings for our wedding, on top of the fact that she thinks there's no guarantee that I could get my old engineering job back. So am I being selfish right now, or is this something I really need to pursue? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, on one hand, I really can't blame you for being like, oh my gosh, this is my dream job, I want to do this so badly. But on the other hand, you do have a fiance. Seriously, that is part of the equation. Any decision that you make really has to kind of go through her first and be like, does this align with our plans? And I get it, you're excited, this is your dream job, but I think the order of operations here should have been like, look, Kate, I have this really cool opportunity. I really want to try and do this. Can we make this work? And then you work with her first instead of going to your sister. I completely understand where Kate's coming from in this regard. She really should have been the first person to find out about this. And she should have been the person to be like, yeah, let's figure this out and see if we can make it work. Now, I'm not saying Kate's right for being like, you're ruining everything. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Because I know for a fact that if my partner came up to me and said, hey, I've got this big opportunity for my dream job, I would make it work. I would figure out how to make that work because I love and care about them. So no, I don't think you're the jerk for being passionate and being excited about this dream job, but I think the way you went about doing this, in my opinion, was completely out of order. Am I the jerk for refusing to lend my laptop to my younger brother, who has a clear history of breaking laptops that he's given? Because right now my parents are pissed off, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 23-year-old female and I have a 14-year-old younger brother. For context, I got my first laptop when I started college to study civil engineering. It was a 2-in-1 office laptop that also worked as a tablet. I only had it for less than a semester before the pandemic hit, and my parents decided to give it to my younger brother for online classes. After that, they got me a Dell G3. But then fast forward a year later, and he broke the first laptop, so they gave him my Dell. But then they bought me the one that I currently have. And now, as you can probably guess, he's managed to ruin the Dell as well. My parents are asking me to lend him my current laptop for just 2 weeks while they buy him a new one, but I said no, and now everyone's upset with me. The thing is, my current laptop has all of my thesis work for graduation and personal files on it. I really can't afford to lose or damage anything. My brother has a track record. He's destroyed 2 laptops in under 5 years, lost 2 original chargers, and we are not even sure how careful he is with his stuff at school. For all I know, he's throwing it around or letting classmates mess with it. My laptop cost over $1,000, and the one they're planning to buy him costs around $800. My parents told me if he ruins mine, then they'll give me the new one, but mine is clearly better performance-wise, and that trade just doesn't seem fair. I don't want to risk losing my work or ending up with a downgrade, but now my family is acting like I'm being selfish and not helping out when it's just for 2 weeks. But I feel like I'm just protecting something that is important to me. So am I the jerk for saying no to this? Because right now I'm very frustrated. Dude, there is no way I would ever hand over that laptop. First of all, you better find a good hiding space for it, because you can bet they're gonna take that from you the second you take your eyes off it. This kid has broken not 1, but 2 laptops. Why would anybody think it's reasonable to loan him anything at this point? He's irresponsible, he doesn't care, and your college work is on that, dude. Your entire graduation could depend on that laptop. So no, you are not the jerk for turning him down, because trust me, if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. My job is constantly making me do more and more work, while also showing me little to no appreciation for my efforts. And now, after one of my coworkers repeatedly told me to hurry up on the job, I finally snapped and I put them in their place. And now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 27-year-old male and I've been working in a cafe for almost 6 years now. Technically, my position is utility cleaning, but I also do cooking and serving. I'm responsible for making sure the dishes are all washed. I have to make sure the kitchen and dining room and outside patios are all clean, I have to take the large box bin out to the trash compactor whenever it's full. I get orders downstairs whenever they come in, I assist with prepping food, and I also cook and serve food. There's 6 of us on the team, including the manager, and I honestly feel like we could use another person because I feel like we're all overworked and stretched thin. But obviously, they don't want to spend the money to hire another person. Well, our manager was on vacation last week, and the team lead, who is a 50-year-old female, took charge. I try to go back and forth between making sure all of my dishes in the kitchen are clean, the kitchen itself is clean, boxes are taken out, and anything I need to prep gets done in addition to going out front and cooking and serving customers. Sometimes the manager will try to give me a hand when he's able to, but since he was on vacation, I was pretty much on my own. I try to multitask to get all of my duties completed throughout the day so I can leave on time, but a lot of the times I have to stay over to make sure my work gets done. But also, the higher-ups have been getting on us about overtime, so I have to try my best to leave on time. I felt like last week I was being rushed and not being shown appreciation for the work I was putting in. I tried to go back and forth to complete things from the kitchen as well as out front, and while I'm back in the kitchen trying to get things done, my 4 coworkers have to hold down the line while I'm trying to complete things in the back. However, the team lead was rushing me to get things done in the kitchen, telling me to hurry up and whatnot. Well, yesterday we were going to have some inspectors inspect our cafe, and I tried cleaning, but the team lead pointed out to me to make sure after I make mashed potatoes in the kitchen to clean up after myself and don't leave it messy. She said I left it messy back there the other day and that she had to clean it up. Now, I will admit I was in a rush that day to make some more mashed potatoes and to try and get out front in a timely manner. I mean, I was prioritizing that. I was eventually going to clean up my mess in the kitchen, but she emphasized to clean it as I go. She also told me to make sure the carts are clean. I also had dishes that needed to be put away, and I did all of this, and it took me about 45 minutes to complete this. When I headed out front to help out there, the team lead goes, "Oh, finally." So I respond back by going, "Finally? You say that like I've been back there all day." She then said to me, "I felt like you were back there for a long time." So I told her, well, I made mashed potatoes, I cleaned up after myself like you told me to, and I put the dishes away, and I cleaned the carts. I felt like I did everything in a timely manner. And then, out of nowhere, here comes my coworker, a 24-year-old male, with an attitude that just honestly doesn't make sense. He tells me, "You need to hurry up." I looked at him and I said, "Hurry up with what?" He said, "Back there." I told him everything's done back there, but he said it again, "You need to hurry up." And at this point, I got heated. I told him, "You need to chill the F out. Don't talk to me like that. I've been respectful to everybody here since I began working here, and I expect the same in return. Chill out." Well, he didn't say anything else after that, or to me for the rest of the day for that matter. I mean, everybody looked stunned, and my coworker even told me that she wasn't expecting that from me at all. But you know what? I was pissed. I feel like I'm working very hard and I do a lot. I felt like I was being rushed and not being shown any appreciation for the work I was putting in. I did not like my coworker's attitude and how he was speaking to me. When my manager comes back Monday, I'm going to discuss with him everything that unfolded. But all in all, am I wrong for this? Am I in the wrong for telling my coworker to chill out and for exploding on them? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Okay, first off, I kind of see myself in this situation because I've been there. Like, I don't know about you, but if you've had like a job where you feel like you're doing everything and you still have idiot coworkers being like, "You need to hurry up, you're not doing enough." Meanwhile, they're not doing nearly the amount of work that you're doing on a daily basis. Like, that is so unbelievably frustrating. For me, when I was dealing with that in my previous job, I felt like I was going crazy. I was like, what is going on right now? I am doing everything around here to make sure things are like on time and working. And not only am I not getting any appreciation, but people are treating me like I'm going slow or something like that, which is just not the case. Like, that really was not the case, and I'm willing to bet that wasn't the case for you either. So personally, I'm super happy that you shut this guy down because he absolutely needed to be shut down. He was completely out of line walking up to you and being like, "Wow, you need to hurry up. You're not going fast enough." When you literally do everything around that place. If you left tomorrow, they would be in so much trouble. You have so much knowledge of like what needs to get done. They would probably have to bring someone in from corporate to train someone on how to do it right. And it's just so typical that the manager's like, "Oh no, we're not going to hire anybody." And it's like, yeah, of course not, because you're getting all this easy labor from me. Meanwhile, the original poster is working themselves to the bone trying to keep up. So no, you're not the jerk for exploding on them. You didn't do anything wrong. And in my opinion, I would start looking for another job because these people do not deserve your work ethic and you could do so much better than these idiots. Am I overreacting for refusing to let my wife's work husband come with us to our family vacation? Because right now, I feel like this is crossing a big line and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my wife and I have been married for 8 years and we have 2 kids together. She recently started a new job where she's gotten really close to one of her coworkers. She calls him her work husband and says it's all jokes and office banter and that it's nothing serious. Now, at first I brushed brushed it off. But over time, she started texting him outside of work hours, laughing at his jokes constantly, and even FaceTiming him once when we were on a weekend trip with our kids. Well, I finally told her it was getting weird, and she told me to stop being insecure. Well, last week, she asked if he could come with us on our summer vacation to the lake house. She said to me that he has no family around and could use a break. But you know what? I said absolutely not. This is our family time, and I don't want some random guy tagging along, especially someone that she flirts with all day. When I said this, she got mad and said that I was being controlling. Her exact words were to say, "I'm not even allowed to have friends now." But I told her that it's not about friends, it's about boundaries. Well, now she's mad and says I embarrassed her by making a big deal out of nothing. So seriously, at this point, am I overreacting? Am I in the wrong for not letting my wife invite her work husband to our family trip? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna say this as honestly as I can. This feels incredibly sketchy, and I don't blame you for saying no. Some of the other comments in this post pretty much echo this, but I'm just gonna say this upright. I think the whole work culture thing of like, oh, this is my work husband or my work wife. Like, I find that creepy and weird. It's like, dude, no, you are not my work wife. I don't know you like that. Just because we work together every day doesn't mean I don't have a relationship that I actually want to be faithful to. And it kind of sounds like your wife is a little bit closer than I would even be comfortable in this situation. Like, seriously, this feels incredibly inappropriate, and I don't blame you for putting your foot down, because this certainly seems like a recipe for absolute disaster. My boyfriend demanded that I pay for the $600 check for his birthday party, even though he literally didn't tell me about this in advance and was just expecting me to pay for it right there on the spot. So I decided the very next day to break up with him, as I felt completely used and humiliated in the worst way possible, resulting in some of my friends calling me selfish and saying that I'm the jerk. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. This story also came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Let's get started. Okay, so my boyfriend planned a birthday dinner for himself at this kind of pricey restaurant. He invited a big group of like 12 people, mostly his friends and his cousins. Now, I didn't have a say in the guest list or the place, but I was happy to be there for him. Now, I've always had a bit more money than him, and I honestly don't mind covering small things here and there. I paid for his birthday cake, and I even got him a gift that I knew he would love. Now, I was fully planning on paying for his meal, and that felt really fair to me. But when the check came for over $600, which is way too high even for me, he just looked at me and said, "You've got it right." And he said this in front of everyone. No warning, no heads up. He didn't even ask me. Like, he almost said this as if he was expecting it. And I was so completely caught off guard. I quietly told him I wasn't comfortable paying for everyone, and he got super cold and a bit mad at me. He said I was making a scene, even though I barely said anything. And you know what? Some people at the table looked just as confused as I felt. Well, I paid for his dinner, I left money for the cake, and then I went home. And I even cried in the Uber because I felt so used. He then texted me saying that I embarrassed him, and I told him it wasn't okay to put me in that position without even asking first. And you know what? The following day, I broke up with him. And now some of his friends are messaging me, calling me selfish. Right now, I feel awful, but I also feel like I was treated like a walking wallet. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, your boyfriend is super toxic. So let me get this straight. This guy plans his own birthday party. He goes to this really fancy and expensive restaurant. He leaves you out of all of the planning, and then he tries to be like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna pay for everything, right?" Like, I don't know about you, but $600 is way too much for anything like that. Like, I bring a little bit extra in case it does cost more, but I don't know anyone who's got like $600 just laying around in their wallet where they're like, "Oh yeah, I could pay for it, don't worry about it." Like, holy crap, your boyfriend is awful. He seriously sprung this on you in front of everyone. Like, dude, what is happening right now? The original poster actually says in the comment section of this post that this day was when they finally realized that their boyfriend was using them, and it kind of made them reflect on how much that was happening in their relationship. So truly, I think this was a good thing. I think breaking up with him was like the best option for you, because what this guy expected of you was crazy, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My ex broke up with me and took my dog with me, so I got revenge by clearing out our joint bank account and simply waited, knowing that she would come back to me begging to get any of that money back, resulting in her exchanging the money for my dog. Here's how I did it. So my ex and I have been having a really hard time lately. She decided she wanted to go back to her ex and has been a jerk ever since then. We broke up, and now she wants everything including the dog, which is, by the way, the very dog that she never even wanted in the first place. And sure, she loves the dog too, but she never walked him, she hated cleaning up his little surprises here and there, there and literally just never put the legwork in. I wanted the dog, plus I trained him and paid for professional training. So I took responsibility for him and we've been buddies ever since then. Well, the problem is that she wants to move out and wants half of everything. We weren't even married, so it's like, what are you talking about? Anyways, the house is a rental, but I always paid for it, and I was living here before we even started dating. So no, not today, girl. She also wanted to move in with her ex because he lives with his parents, but also not today. So what did she do, you might be asking? She managed to get inside without being seen by the cameras, since she knows the dead angles, and got into the backyard and called for the dogs. But it's like, how dumb do you have to be to hide from the cameras but then scream his name? Like, the cameras also record sound, idiot. So I just went to the police station and they said they couldn't do anything because we are not married and there's no evidence that we actually broke up or that she entered the house illegally. So I went to her parents' house looking for the dog, since she didn't reply to my messages, and my buddy actually heard me and immediately started barking and trying to come in my direction. But her mom didn't want to open the door completely, so he couldn't get to me and even closed the door mid-conversation, so I couldn't get the dog. But you know what? No worries. We had a joint bank account with some savings that we both invested in, even though I invested 80% or more, and we had agreed to split it 50-50. So no dog, no money. I then transferred all that money into a crypto wallet and I waited 2 days. Well, all of a sudden, she remembered my number and asked what happened to the money. But I told her I invested it in crypto, but I could cash it out, and then I gave her a choice. She could choose between getting the money back or keeping the dog. And you know what? Suddenly she agreed to give me back my dog. And so she did. So thankfully that's taken care of. And I also made sure that there are no more dead angles at my home, because you better believe I don't want her showing up anytime soon. Wow, your ex is a piece of garbage. Like, seriously, she probably only took the dog out of spite just to try and get back at you in some way. And that is so messed up. You really did not deserve that. So good for you for negotiating things down and making sure she really wanted to make that choice. Because you can obviously see her true colors the second money was on the table. Because obviously that's all she ever really wanted. Am I the jerk for not carpooling with my coworker anymore after she was disrespectful and extremely late every single time? Because now she's talking bad about me to all of our teammates at work, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. About 7 months ago, I started working at a company where I met a teammate who lives on the same road I take to work. For reference, it takes about 45 minutes without traffic for me to get there. Well, we started carpooling, where I would be at her house at nearly 7 o'clock in the morning. However, she would usually still be asleep by the time I get to her house. So, because I did not like being late for work, I started calling her 15 minutes earlier just so she would get ready. However, even then, she would still be late. Mind you, she paid me an agreed amount the beginning of each month. Now, that did not bother me until she started going to work on some days with this other coworker with whom she apparently liked for fun, although he clearly had feelings for her. She would not always tell me when she'll be coming with me, and I had to call her every morning, which I did not like doing. Moreover, she would not be ready on my days, but then I catch her ready to go early in the morning whenever she has to go with him, which I really did not like. And you know what? It just started bothering me. To add more spice to the story, the dude had an accident and wanted to fix his car, so she would need a ride. Well, she did not tell me that. Instead, she masked it with this little hint of saying, "Oh, I missed you. I think I will be coming with you from now on," which really upset me the most. But now, after that happened, I decided to stop the carpool thing, and I told her that I don't want that to ruin our friendship. She said to me, "What you did is really crappy, and I don't want to be friends with you anymore." To which I just replied by saying, "Yeah, okay, whatever you want." And now, I don't know how the whole situation would be from her point of view, but I can't see in what way she would make me out to be a bad friend, because that's what she told our teammates at work. So please, can somebody give me some insight here? Am I the jerk or is she at fault? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Dude, you are definitely not the jerk. She literally didn't care about you carpooling with her at all. You had to call her every single morning, but then when that boy's picking her up, she's conveniently on time and ready to go. It's like, what are you talking about? This is so stupid. She's unreliable, and it sounds like she's one of those drama queens where nothing's ever her fault, and if you ever supposedly betray her, she's gonna talk bad about you at the drop of a hat. So I can honestly say, if I had a friend like that, I would drop them to the curb and be like, "Oh, you don't want to be friends anymore? Well, fantastic. I didn't want to put up with this crap anyways. See ya." Because in my opinion, you deserve way better than this, and I think your friend is a spoiled rotten brat. Am I the jerk for buying a mini fridge and locking it up so that I can protect my lunch from getting stolen at work? Because after 5 times of having my lunch stolen, I'm literally at my breaking point and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 34-year-old male and I work in a small office with about 10 people, and we share a communal kitchen including one fridge. Over the past month, my lunch has been stolen 5 times. Not just random snacks, like the entire homemade meals that I bring from home are just completely gone without a trace. It's not just frustrating, it's expensive and messes up my day. I mentioned it a couple of times in the group chat by saying, hey, someone's been taking my lunches, please stop. And everyone either ignored it or sent vague messages, saying stuff like, oh, that sucks. Some people are the worst. But no one took any responsibility. So I decided to buy a mini fridge and I put it under my desk. Nothing fancy, just enough to hold my meal and a drink. On top of that, I also put a lock on it just for extra peace of mind. And since then, no one has ever stole my lunches. Well, last Friday, one of my coworkers, who we will call Diana for the sake of the story, confronted me during lunch and said it was weird and selfish that I had a personal fridge. She said it made me look paranoid and not part of the team. But I said I was tired of my food being stolen, and this was the only solution that worked. She said I should have just bought stuff I wouldn't care about losing, like snacks or microwave meals, if I was so worried. A couple of others have now made little comments by saying, don't let him see your lunch, he might lock it up. Or just say, we get it, you're special. And I'm starting to feel like the weirdo of the office just for protecting my stuff. So seriously, am I the jerk here, or is there something else going on? Because I seriously do not know what to do. Oh my gosh, I think you found exactly who's like stealing your lunch. This Diana lady's clearly the person who did it. Like seriously, for starters, how can no one be like, wait a second, this is the 5th time you've lost your lunch? Who's doing it? Like we need to figure out who's doing that and make it stop. There's only 10 people on the crew, by the way, so it's like, come on, someone's got to figure out exactly what's happening. That or it's some kind of like organized effort to mess with your only lunch break. Like seriously, what's going on right now? So for Diana to walk up and be like, oh, you look so paranoid. You need to bring stuff you're not afraid of losing. What she's really saying is, please bring stuff that I can continue to steal because right now I don't have a lunch. Because in my opinion, Diana sounds really hungry, and I really think it's obvious that she's the one who's actually not part of the team and is just pissed off that she doesn't get a free lunch anymore. An entitled jerk blocks my parking space and decides to get violent the second I tell him to move. So as a result, I decided to get some revenge by taking his information off the internet and applying for jobs on his behalf that he most definitely was not looking to work at. Here's what I did. A few years ago, my mother-in-law flew in from across the country to visit my fiance and I for a week. We live in an apartment in a busy part of downtown Vancouver, and our garage opens into an alley right next to the entrance of a liquor store. And as a result, we are often blocked in by people when trying to get home or even just to leave. We've gotten into a few screaming matches with people before, but this one was my favorite and probably the worst as well. We were coming back pretty late in the evening, maybe at around 9:00 p.m., and this guy, who we will call Christopher, had parked right in front of our garage door and went into the liquor store to buy some booze. When he came back out and saw us in our vehicle waiting for him to move so that we could park and be home, he made some snotty comment. And it's the kind of comment that you couldn't hear while still in our vehicle. And then he got into his car. Now we thought he would drive away, but he just sat there, opened up a can of beer and drank it while looking at us and laughing. So I get out of the vehicle, I walked over to him, and I politely, and honestly I said this politely, asked him to move so that we can get inside. Well, he basically responded by telling me to go F myself and that he would do what he wanted. I tried to explain that he was blocking our garage, and I asked him if he could just move up a bit so that we could get in. Well, this escalated really quickly. He got out of the car and got really into my face. Now me, still not wanting to play out this situation in front of my future mother-in-law, stayed calm and just kept asking him to please get back into his car and leave. Eventually he started pushing me, clearly trying to start a fight, so I just called the police. While I was on the phone with them, he had put himself and his face centimeters away from mine. I stepped back and I put my arm out, while still on the phone mind you, and he walked right into it. He then started screaming about how I was hitting him and how he needed police help right now. Because we were right downtown, the police arrived within a minute from when I had made the call, still on the phone with the operator the entire time. Well, as soon as they arrived, he changed his tone and attitude completely. He started telling them a sob story about how I had approached him in his vehicle and said some mean things to him. But luckily, my fiance and future mother-in-law were still in the car and completely backed up my story. He was also parked illegally in front of my parking garage, so the police quickly took my side and demanded that he leave. Now, as he got back into his car, the police noticed his open beer in the console and immediately got him back out of the car and demanded that he perform a breathalyzer test. Now, unfortunately, he had finished the can before getting out, so he claimed that he had found the can on the road and was planning to bring it in for the 5-cent deposit. His alcohol level was below the legal limit for driving, so the police couldn't do anything to charge him with a DUI. The police stayed until he left, but the last thing he did before driving away was throw his business card out the window at me and then say to me, "Oh, you don't know who you're messing with." Well, I picked it up as he was driving away, already starting to plan my revenge, although with no idea of what I could do with his information. The next day, I looked Christopher up, and it turns out that he was was a freelance graphic designer. He has his own website with a bunch of his completed projects and his full PDF downloadable resume. So I downloaded his resume and I got to work. At this point, I then started applying for jobs on Christopher's behalf. I had his real phone number, real address, and a real full resume. And you know what? He applied to every McDonald's in the area, every Starbucks, every grocery store, every movie theater, literally any minimum wage job that I could find with a quick and easy application process. I must have applied for like over 80 jobs for him, all using his real phone number and real resume. I kept this up for weeks, searching for more jobs whenever I had some free time. Now, unfortunately, I never got to see his face as he started getting callbacks, as he was truly more than qualified for any of these jobs. But I would like to think that for a month or two, he would receive phone calls through the week asking to set up job interviews, thinking that it was for a graphic design work, only to then be told that it was for McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever. But I will say, a few months later, I went back to his website thinking that I'd start the process again, since he pulled that crap in front of my fiance and future mother-in-law, so I was still a bit salty about it. But I was both shocked and satisfied to see that his website had been taken down, or at least moved to a new URL. And I'd like to believe that somehow this is my doing. Okay, this is some solid revenge because I'm sure that guy was losing his mind dealing with all the callbacks. And I love the fact that you did like the whole job route because you could easily just start spamming him like crazy, especially with like political or like religious emails or something like that, or even like really sketchy emails if you know what I mean. But you went the route where you know for a fact he's gonna check it and be like, oh, wait a second, maybe this is work, maybe this is a future job or something like that, only to then be immediately let down that no, it's definitely not that kind of job because he's getting a call back to work at a fast food joint, which is not a bad job, but I'm sure that's not what he's looking to do. So good for you because this guy absolutely deserved to get shut down in some kind of way. Am I the jerk for blowing up at my parents for something my adult sister did while I was setting up for my husband's birthday? Because right now they're saying that I'm being unfair, but at this point I am so frustrated with their behavior that I seriously am at such a loss. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I have a sister who I will call Amy for the sake of the story, who has always had a difficult relationship with food. Basically, she was bullied as a kid and turned to food for comfort. As an adult, she still struggles with self-control, especially around things that she finds appetizing. Our parents have never set boundaries with her around food, and that's carried into adulthood. She now currently lives with them, and they do all the grocery shopping and cooking. Well, my husband recently had a birthday, and I planned a surprise party. I sent him out of the house for a few hours so that I could set up, and I asked my parents to come and help. Now, I specifically asked them not to bring Amy, as setting up involved putting out snacks, drinks, and a homemade cake with frosting. Well, as you can probably guess, they showed up with Amy anyways, saying it wouldn't be fair to exclude her. I gave her a few small things to do, and specifically asked her not to touch any of the food until the guests arrived. But I was also too busy to keep a constant eye on her. Well, at one point, I went into the kitchen, and I found Amy with the fridge open, eating the frosting out of the mixing bowl, and she had eaten nearly half of it already. As soon as she saw me, she burst into tears and said she only meant to try a little bit, but she couldn't stop. My parents heard us and they came in. My mom then said that it wasn't a big deal since the cake was untouched, and I still had enough frosting for a crumb coat, but I had planned to do specific cake decorations, and now there wasn't enough frosting. I didn't have the time or ingredients to make more. My dad suggested going to the store to buy a tub of pre-made frosting, saying that it was basically the same thing, but I explained my husband tries to avoid a lot of the ingredients found in store-bought frosting, and he just wouldn't want that. My dad then said, well, let's just not tell him since he wouldn't even know the difference. And honestly, that suggestion was super frustrating to me. I told my parents that they couldn't convince me that this was no big deal, and that they had allowed this by not setting boundaries with Amy's binge eating and by bringing her to set up. They told me to back off and be more sensitive to my sister, and that it wasn't her fault, but I responded by saying that I was more angry at them because at least Amy felt bad while they were just trying to downplay the situation. They then got upset and said it wasn't fair to blame them for Amy's choices, and that she was an adult and they can't control her. They also said they were trying to help by giving suggestions, and that I'm being stubborn by shutting all of them down. They ended up leaving, and now they're giving me the silent treatment, even though Amy has apologized for eating the frosting. So am I the jerk for involving them in all of this? Because right now I'm honestly not sure what to do. Okay, no, you are not the jerk here because they brought Amy in the first place. You specifically told them, hey, don't bring her along. I don't want to deal with that. I know how she is, and I don't want that right now. You literally just wanted help setting up for a birthday party, and they completely ruined it. And sure, this is Amy's fault if you really get down to it, but it's absolutely also the parents' fault because they didn't do anything about this sooner. So no, you're not the jerk because what your parents did, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my sister the wedding dress I bought, even even though I'm not getting married anymore. Because right now she's calling me selfish, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 29-year-old female, and I was supposed to get married last year, but my fiance and I ended up breaking things off a few months before the wedding. Now, this was mutual, there was no drama, just a realization that we weren't compatible long term. The thing is, I had already bought myself a wedding dress custom made that cost me nearly $4,000. And trust me, I know that's a lot, but I paid for it entirely myself, and it meant a lot to me at the time. After the breakup, I packed it up and I put it in storage. I haven't been ready to sell it or do anything with it yet, as it is still an emotional thing. Well, here's where it gets really messy. My younger sister recently got engaged, and we're not super close as we are kind of different people, and she's always been a bit entitled if I'm being completely honest. She came over a few weeks ago, saw the dress when we were organizing my storage closet, and actually asked if she could have it for her wedding. When she said this, I kind of laughed and said, no, that's mine. But when I said that, she got annoyed. She said to me, but you're not even getting married. You're just gonna let it rot in a box. I told her again, no, it's personal to me, and even though I'm not using it now, I'm not giving it away. Now, you might be thinking she would stop at this point, but no, she just kept on going. She asked if she could buy it at a discount, but I told her no, I wasn't ready to sell it. And it's here that she threw an absolute fit. She called me selfish and said I was being dramatic over a dress. Well, our mom is now involved, and she thinks I should give it to her as a gesture of sisterly love, and because according to her, it's going to waste. But I honestly feel like she's only asking because she doesn't want to pay for one herself, and she's not exactly struggling financially. So now I have my sister and my mom acting like I'm heartless and petty for not handing it over, but it feels like a boundary I just simply want to keep. So am I the jerk for refusing? Because right now I'm still incredibly frustrated. Wow, dude, I'm blown away. Your family's super toxic. I just can't imagine someone being so heartless and entitled to be like, oh, you're not using it. It's clearly going to waste. Give it to me at a discount, please. Like, dude, what is going on right now? This is still your wedding dress after all. Just because you're not using it now doesn't mean you won't in the future or something like that. This just really sucks in my opinion. Like, the way she's acting is just super entitled, as if she's supposed to get that now that you're not using it. So to me, it kind of makes sense why you're not super close with her. But honestly, no, you are not the jerk. Your mom and sister are completely in the wrong. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would have made the exact same decision. My psycho neighbors say that they're gonna steal my cats one day when I'm not looking, claiming that I'm too strict with what my cats can eat and that they will give my cats a much better life than anything I would give them. Here's what's going on. Okay, I want to start off by saying that this entire experience has been really wild. About a month ago, I moved into a new place as a rental. It's a gated apartment complex with individual houses. And with me in my apartment, I have two beautiful cats. And I might be biased, but I think they're gorgeous babies. Both of my cats have special needs and require a special diet along with medications. Well, cut to about 2 weeks back, and I saw two people outside of my balcony. For reference, my house is on the ground floor, and the balcony has been netted to keep the cats safe. Now, they seem normal enough, and we're just saying hi to the cats. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I get it. They are cute kids. I love them. I then stepped into the balcony and politely asked them what was up, and they said they've been watching my cats for a while and just wanted to come by and say hi. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. I then told them that they can come in and say hi to the cats if they wanted to, but informed them that they're not to feed the cats anything, as both of them are on special medicated diets. I mean, I even had a handwritten board outside the balcony stating in bold letters that no one should be feeding the cats anything. So anyways, they come in and greet the kittens, and thankfully they're gentle and nice with them. We exchange a few pleasantries and part ways with the neighbors telling me that they'd be happy to pet sit my cats if the need ever arises. Now I'm here thinking about how nice people still exist in this world, but clearly the joke's on me. The next day I see the lady outside the window again, trying to slip some milk to the cats, which either way, you're not supposed to give cats that, as they can't digest cow milk. So I naturally got very angry, but composed myself and asked her sternly not to feed the cats anything, especially not cow milk, as it's toxic to cats. This entitled lady then tells me, oh, but they're street cats, not like a breed, so they can eat anything. I was thinking about how I could bring my meal scraps for them. It'll help me manage my trash too. And it's like, no lady, that's not happening. Yes, I found them both on the streets and they might not be special breeds, but honestly, screw you for assuming that they can eat whatever trash you offer because of that. The argument gets heated and her partner comes out asking what's happening. And it's then that I inform him about what she was trying to do. And you know what? He just doubles down. He then asked me to not be rude when they were just trying to be nice to my cats, and said that I'm denying the cats quality food and that one day they were just gonna take the cats from my place because they could give them a better life, as I seem too controlling. And they both looked completely serious, and it was honestly unnerving. Well, after they said this crazy lady went a step
ahead and tried to pull my cat out of the netting, which is so stupid because there's no way you can squeeze the cat out. And at this point, I'm livid and I really want to punch her in the face. I then asked them to get lost and told them that if I see them anywhere near my apartment again, that I will then just call the police. But you know what? They didn't care. They smirked and said that if my cats one day disappear, then I should know who took them. After that, I went inside and I took my kittens with me because I don't know what this lunatic will do if they aren't supervised. I mean, the audacity of some people. I've gone and lodged a complaint with the apartment owners about them, and if I see them again anywhere near my place, I'm calling the cops because these people are so crazy that I'm currently looking to install some cameras because this kind of behavior is something I absolutely want to take seriously. Holy crap, this is insane. They literally just looked at you and said, oh, your cats are gonna go missing one day, giving you this unnerving stare like, dude, no way is that gonna be something I would put up with. So good for you for complaining because this is insane behavior, and I'm so sorry that you have to put up with this, especially from a neighbor.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
Am I the jerk for telling my physically disabled landlady that I won't be doing any work on her property anymore after she called me and my fiance losers for not having our own place? Because right now I feel like we're about to get evicted and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. About 8 months ago, I was in need of a place for myself and my fiance to go, and one of my acquaintances offered us a deal. She would pay the utilities in a house she owned, and in exchange, I would do certain chores for her around the property to get it ready for sale. She's physically disabled. She had hip and ankle replacements, so she can't really do a lot of manual labor herself. The total cost to her in utilities monthly is slightly under $350, and she basically got me as a free contractor. We agreed that those arrangements would last for 1 year, at which time my fiance and myself would be financially stable enough to get our own place. Well, the issue started about a month after I moved in. To make it short, she has a habit of asking for a small favor that turns into a large task that then turns into a day's worth of work or more, and has no respect for people's work or school schedule. I work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week, and my fiance is pursuing a bachelor's degree at an accelerated pace, so we're always busy. We originally agreed to about 10 hours of labor a week, and that escalated to pretty much any time I'm not physically at my actual job. Now, what she does is come up with convoluted multi-day projects, and whenever she thinks I'm off work, she starts calling and texting to make sure that as soon as I'm in the driveway, I'm working on tasks for her. She also gets angry when I have other obligations to take care of in my time off. She's hinted several times that she would probably evict me and my fiance if we didn't keep up with her task list, and we won't have enough savings for another 4 to 6 weeks to step out into our own place. And by the way, she knows this and always makes these comments when she knows that we've had an emergency that affects our savings, such as buying new tires for our vehicle, missing work for a funeral, or stuff like that. Well, today I was working on her chicken coop, which is another thing she wants me to build, despite being sick. Which, by the way, she doesn't care and has been angry all day that I didn't do it yesterday evening when I got off work. I then overheard her telling one of her friends that she thinks my fiance and I are losers, all because we don't have our own place. She also said that we're too lazy to do the work that we need to do just to keep the one place that she's giving us. Well, I immediately stopped working. I told her that if we're such losers, that she can find someone else to do the work for her. My fiance thinks that I've opened the door to retaliation and I need to apologize to keep the peace. But I told him that she's talked down and treated us like garbage long enough that I can't deal with it anymore. But he thinks that we should just tough it out for another few weeks. So truly, am I the jerk for going off on her and making it possible that we might get evicted? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, first off, your landlord is a piece of crap and there's no other way of describing her. Like seriously, this person's a terrible person. She essentially earned some free slave labor and that's not fair for you or anybody else. I would personally also really want to know if any of this is in writing. Like, does it say in a signed document that, hey, you can live here if you work for me for free and I won't have you pay rent, but you have to do all this other crap on top of your actual job? Like, dude, what kind of like colonial indentured servitude are we living in right now? This is crazy. So no, you're not the jerk for telling her off because her behavior is atrocious. And in my opinion, I would happily start finding any place else to live. Like literally anywhere else would be better than living under this lady's thumb, because you and your fiance definitely do not deserve to be treated this way. An entitled boomer says that he's gonna call the cops on me for walking along his private beach, despite the fact that this private beach is in reality a public beach, and he has no say over whether we can or cannot be there. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm in California for college, but I'm originally from the East Coast. I grew up in Florida and I went to Long Island every summer as a kid. In both Florida and New York, private property owners can own the beach next
next to their house if it's dry sand. And I just assumed this was the case in California as well. Yesterday, I was walking along the beach and I passed a few houses, and I didn't think it was a big deal since I was just passing through. Well, as I walked minding my own business, an angry boomer came out of one of those McMansions. He shouted at me, "Get off my beach or I'll call the cops on you." Well, I quickly walked away from the area in front of his house, and I got off the beach as soon as I could. But today, I made a shocking discovery that private beaches don't exist in California. I first saw this on a Reddit post on this subreddit, and then I Googled it, and I even checked with my roommate who's a native to California. In fact, it's illegal to shoot people off the beach and intimidate them. And it turns out that boomer jerk was the criminal in this situation and not me. Well, fast forward, and I brought a few friends to that beach to surf this morning. And we did that because apparently Californians really don't like it when someone tries to keep a beach from the public. Well, as you can imagine, the boomer called the cops on us. And the cops showed up and told him that we weren't doing anything wrong and that he should only use 911 for real emergencies. We then just went back to surfing, and this boomer has been staring at us from behind his fence for hours, completely enraged. It is pretty creepy, but also incredibly satisfying because this guy got put in his place in a way that I'm sure he was not expecting. Man, that's hilarious because I'm sure that guy was incredibly pissed off. He has probably used that line a couple of times to get people away from what he assumed was his property. So good for you for getting him straightened out with the police's help, because this guy sounds like a massive jerk. This next story comes from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for snapping at a stranger who kept calling me sweetheart even after I asked him to stop? Because right now, my roommates are making me feel guilty for the way I reacted, and right now I'm not sure what to do. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I was at a small local coffee shop that I go to often so that I can study. It's usually chill and quiet, which is why I like it. Today, some older guy, probably in his 50s, sat at the table next to mine. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, this isn't public space after all, so whatever. But then he started making small comments. Things like, "You look really focused, sweetheart. Hard work pays off, darling." And the first time, I kind of forced a polite smile. But the second time, I said, "Hey, I'd prefer not to be called that, thank you." Well, he just laughed it off like I was joking and kept doing it. After the third or fourth time, I finally snapped and said, "Stop calling me that. It's condescending and weird." Well, when I did that, he got all huffy, told me I was being too sensitive, and that not everything is harassment, and then loudly said, "Wow, no wonder young people are so angry these days." Now, here's the thing. I could feel people staring, and I left soon after because I felt uncomfortable. But when I told my roommate, she said I might have overreacted and embarrassed the guy in public when I should have just ignored it. Now, I did not scream or cause a huge scene, but I was clearly frustrated and not sugarcoating it. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, no, you are not the jerk. If anything, you probably should have made him even more uncomfortable. Like, that's the only thing I see wrong here. Because what this guy was doing was incredibly weird. He was clearly trying to hit on you, and you're like, "No, I don't like that, don't call me that." And yes, he was harassing you, and no, you're not too sensitive. This guy was clearly being creepy, and you have no obligation to entertain that in the slightest. So if someone's calling you something in public that you don't like, and you're telling them to get lost and leave you alone, then guess what? That doesn't mean you overreacted or that you're in the wrong. That means you're setting some clear boundaries that this guy needs to respect, or he can get lost. Also, your friend's a complete idiot. You did not overreact. This guy needs to be embarrassed. This kind of behavior should not stand. So no, you're not the jerk, and in my opinion, I think you could have done way worse if you really wanted to. An entitled boomer literally makes my life a living nightmare while I stayed in the hospital for breaking my arm. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I shattered my arm in a car accident, and I stayed on the trauma unit in a semi-private room with a boomer. She talked on speakerphone for hours, and she did nothing but complain the entire time. But she finally crossed a line with me when she started trash-talking my mother. I then told her to stop speaking about my mom, but she just kept on doing it until I was yelling that she had no right to talk about my mom like that. She said that her visitors wouldn't be that loud, and for reference, my mom wasn't. We talked in whispers until my mom left, and that's when I snapped. I said to her, "I literally just got in an accident a few hours ago. Sorry you don't have family that loves you and wants to visit you." And my God, the stunned silence I received never sounded so good. But then she blasted the news channel from midnight Friday until the moment I left. She commented at the TV to get me to engage in a verbal fight with her. She just kept bringing up these weird political talking points over and over again, and it was so incredibly annoying. When the nurse tried to get her to turn it off at 3 o'clock in the morning so that I could sleep, she literally had a fit. "I am not bothering anyone. Why do you always pick on me?" And then she just turned the volume up. And then to top it all off, she trash-talked me on the phone to her friend before I left. When I was discharged, to her surprise, I pleasantly said goodbye, and I stopped for a beat before saying, "Here's some advice. Don't trash talk about someone when they can literally hear you." I honestly think if my arm wasn't immobilized, I may have fought her right then and there, because the audacity of this woman was truly unbelievable. Oh man, that's really frustrating. Like, seriously, you just got in a car accident and this lady's giving you a hard time? Like, dude, come on, man. You literally didn't do anything wrong and she's trying to sit there and be like, oh my god, I can't stand your mother. And then when you return the same energy she's giving you, suddenly it's a problem and she's gonna make your life a living nightmare by literally sleep depriving you. It's like, dude, this is not a hotel, it's a hospital. Turn that crap off. Like, this is exhausting. But either way, it was a good thing you stood up for yourself, because she had no right to speak to you in that way. Am I overreacting for being upset that my awful mother got $31,000 in back child support and is controlling how I get my portion? Here's what's going on. Okay, I'm a 22-year-old female, and I recently found out that the government took $31,000 out of my dad's legal settlement and gave it to my mom for back child support. Now, the thing is, when I was a kid, my parents had an agreement. My dad didn't pay official child support because he was also really struggling financially. Instead, he supported me in other ways, giving me his time, energy, care, and doing whatever he could. He absolutely didn't abandon me. And honestly, without him around, I probably wouldn't even be here today. Now, here's the real kicker. My mom was physically, emotionally, and financially awful towards me growing up. I am pretty messed up because of her, and we are not close. Seeing her get $31,000 that is supposedly for me just feels like a slap in the face. Meanwhile, the parent who actually showed up and helped me gets penalized. Now, here's how she's splitting the money up. $10,000 is going to my dad, $10,000 is going to her, $1,000 is going to each of my two half-siblings, and $8,000 is going to me. Now, this might sound generous, right? Well, here's the catch. She's only giving me $1,000 for now and putting the remaining $7,000 in a bank account that I can't access until I find an apartment. She says it's to help me get on my feet, but I currently live with my sister, her boyfriend, and my husband because the ceiling at my last place literally collapsed. But I could really use the rest of that to get my car fixed. Also, it's worth noting that she lives in Florida with her boyfriend, who makes decent money. So it's not like she's barely scraping by or needs the cash. I'm fully expecting her to say something like, well, everyone needs help sometimes, but that doesn't change how unfair this feels. I feel torn because yeah, I'm getting $1,000, which is a lot for some people, and I might get the rest later, but it feels so wrong to watch my awful mother walk away with thousands of dollars that were meant to help raise me, especially since she didn't treat me with care or honestly even basic decency growing up. And now, on top of everything, she's still trying to control my life using this money. So, am I overreacting for feeling angry and betrayed by all of this? Because right now, I don't know what to do. No, you're not overreacting at all. This really sucks. Your mom is obviously not a good person and she mistreated you as a kid, and it's clear that she's trying to do that again as an adult, because there is no reason why she couldn't give you this full amount. And in my opinion, unless you get some kind of thing in writing, you're probably never gonna see the rest of that money. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would not get my hopes up, because based on the way she's acted before, I just don't think this is gonna work out in the way that you're hoping. Would I be the jerk if I stopped paying for my ex's student loans, even though I promised I would pay for them even if we did one day break up? Here's what's going on. Okay, so my fiance and I mutually ended our relationship 6 months ago. We had been together for 7 years, and back when things were good between us, I had promised her that I would help her repay her student loans even if we broke up. Now, this is stupid, I know, but I never imagined that it would end. To me, it was the equivalent of saying, would you still love me if I was a worm? But basically, it was death by 1,000 cuts. Neither one of us was happy, and it was just getting worse and worse the last few years. The master's program was free where we live in Norway, and the loans were for living expenses. I paid 100% of the bills, and I gave her my credit card for any regular expenses. The only time she would have needed to use the loan was for a 3-month research trip, which the school mostly covered, during which she basically only should have had to use it on rent, as I gave her money for food and everything else. She always refused to tell me the size of the loan, how much of it she had used, or anything else specific. She claimed it was too stressful to talk about. The only financial contribution she ever made in the 6 years we lived together was paying about $4,000 what I owed taxes. Well, for the last 6 months while we have been broken up, I have still let her use my credit card to help ease her transition. I've paid her phone bill, storage costs for her stuff, let her keep a bunch of stuff at my place, and I even gave her a 2-month notice on the credit card so that she wouldn't just be cut off with no notice. Now, all of which she was fine with. But when I told her that I would only cover the monthly tuition payment until the end of the year, which is 13 months post-breakup, she freaked out on me for breaking my promise all those years ago. It's a small monthly payment, maybe $150 a month, but I feel that I have already gone above and beyond and more than paid her back with my other post-breakup financial contributions. So seriously, am I being the jerk for taking this step? Because right now I feel really guilty. No, you're not the jerk. I totally understand what you're talking about. where you said you would pay for her stuff even if you did break up, but for her to literally try to hold you to that and be like, wait a second, we're not a couple anymore, but you said you would still pay for it. Like at that point, I would just tell her straight up, look, I don't like you anymore, we broke up, and this is not the way this is gonna be. I'm not an ATM and I'm not gonna pay for this forever. That's insane. And yeah, I really do think that's crazy. Because in my opinion, I really think she's just taking advantage of you. She's trying to get some free money out of you, and that is not okay. And you deserve way better than this crappy treatment. Am I the jerk for refusing to wear body makeup for my friend's wedding? All because I have psoriasis and the bride-to-be wants me to cover it up. Because right now she's not even talking to me and is incredibly pissed off and making me feel very guilty. Here's what's going on. To start things out, my friend has just gotten engaged and has asked me to be her maid of honor. And I am beyond thrilled for her and beyond touched that she asked me, but it's on the condition that I wear body makeup over my psoriasis. Now, I can't do that. Not only is it impractical, but any makeup that will actually cover it will literally exacerbate the condition and make life miserable for me. Now, to be clear, I have it well controlled. I'm not flaky, the skin is simply very red. It covers 80% of one forearm, 20% of the other, both of my elbows, and I have large patches on my calves, my knees, and 90% of the top of one foot. I use gentle manual exfoliation and a moisturizer that helps control the dry and excess skin. I apply the moisturizer a couple of times a day and wouldn't be able to do this while also wearing makeup. I let her know I wouldn't be able to do that, explaining why, even though she knows I have to be careful with all products that I use. But despite all of this, she is still quite unhappy with me. She says she wants beautiful photographs that make everyone feel beautiful and confident, which really upsets me. I am content and confident in my skin. I know it's there and people stare sometimes, but what can I do about that? Most people think I've had some kind of gnarly motorbike accident or something like that. I'm at a point in my life where I honestly just don't care, and I often forget that it's unusual to see. I know the reason is because she doesn't want to see it in her photos. I said as much to her and she was offended. I suggested that I wear something with long sleeves and a skirt, but she's already had her heart set on mid-length strapless dresses, and a shawl covering it just simply won't do. It got to the point where she was getting heated because I won't do it, and simply told me that I either wear the body makeup or I don't even bother coming. But I told her that either she can have me as I am or I'm just not gonna go at all, and then I left. And at this point she's not even speaking to me, but has told her fiance that I accepted the role. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Should I just suck it up and wear the body makeup and deal with it? I love my friend and I would hate to miss her wedding, but wearing the body makeup would just make the night so miserable, and it would cause so much irritation and possibly pain if it gets so bad that my skin splits again. What should I do? Dude, your friend is being so unreasonable, it's not even funny. She is literally ignoring this obvious skin condition that you have and basically saying, oh yeah, you're ugly if you don't wear body makeup. Like that's what she's actually saying without actually saying it. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would not even bother showing up. I am not going to waste my time with someone like that who's not going to understand my situation, especially if I was in the original poster shoes. Like screw that, man. You do not need that for a second. So no, of course you're not the jerk. This is such an unkind thing to say to you, and honestly, there is no good excuse. And the fact that she's already said, oh yeah, she's gonna do it, like that in my opinion is crazy, and you definitely do not have to deal with that. An entitled Karen demands that I give away all of my kids' toys to her son, all because he has autism, stating that I'm a terrible person for not giving it up, while also implying that I'm the reason he's having a meltdown in this very moment. Here's what happened. So ever since last year, I've been taking my 4-year-old daughter to the local splash pad to work on feeling more comfortable with the water and feeling better about playing with others. She has ADHD and sensory deficits, and going to the splash pad has been great for her socially and emotionally. Most parents at this local splash pad bring their own water buckets and squirters for the kids to play with, as well as other water toys that they might want to bring, and it's usually just some stuff from the dollar store. My daughter shares her toys with other kids at the splash pad regularly, and in turn, they will share their stuff and play together. Now, every time I've been there, I've had such a positive experience with the other parents, and they usually help guide the children into turn taking and help guide positive social emotional interactions. I've met some great parents and kids there, and have even met up again for some play dates. However, this afternoon I had a really bad experience. Over the weekend, my daughter cashed in on her good job marbles for a Paw Patrol beach bucket with Sky on it, and she couldn't wait to bring it to the splash pad. Well, cue today, we bring this bucket along with a beach duffel bag that had all of our other water toys, snacks, and towels to the splash pad. Now, my daughter was playing in the splash pad and was filling up her Sky bucket with water when she noticed a boy, probably about 6 years old, grab her bucket and bring it to his siblings on the other side of the splash pad. My daughter then comes running up to me upset, and at the time, I'm thinking that maybe he doesn't recognize it belongs to her and thinks it just came with the park. So I figure
in this moment it would be a good move to go over to those kids with my daughter and ask if they can all play together since it is her bucket, so she doesn't feel that something that belongs to her is getting taken away, and just turn it into a positive experience and the kid doesn't get embarrassed either. I mean, in my mind, this would be a win-win situation. Well, when my daughter asks if she can also play with her bucket, he screams angrily and literally throws it back to my daughter as he runs away in frustration. So I guess that didn't work like I planned, but I did get our bucket back, and my daughter was playing well for the next half hour with some other kids, catching water until she had to use the restroom. She put all of her toys back into our bag and we zipped it up so we did not leave anything out and about while we went to the bathroom. Anyways, when we get back from the restroom, my bag is not on my beach towel where I had left it, and instead I see it dumped over, snacks and all, on the other side of the splash pad, and that boy and his siblings are playing with all of the water toys. And he, of course, is prancing around with a sky bucket. And honestly, I feel pretty ticked off because I felt like he was waiting for an opportunity to swipe it, and the fact that my whole bag was dumped out just felt so invasive, and even more so that it had been unzipped. My first thought is, where the F are the parents? I mean, no one seems to be watching at all. I was ready to leave at this point, so I approach the kids and I say, "Hey guys, can we please put away those toys? They belong to us and we're about to leave. We need to ask before taking things." The siblings comply and they put the stuff away, and my daughter tries to retrieve her bucket from the boy's hands, and he just goes, "No, it's mine. This is my bucket." I then just gently kept saying, "It's her bucket, buddy, and we're going to leave and she needs it back." And then he literally just starts running away again. So in that moment, I just run after him, I grab his hands to release his fingers off the bucket, which he had a serious grip on, and I then just gave it back to my child. And once I did that, he fully and completely melts down. This is when the mom finally appears with one of the siblings. She's pissed off and tells me to please not touch her child. I try to explain the situation, but she's honestly not even remotely sympathetic. She says to me, "The bucket's probably a freaking $1. Get over yourself." And at this point, I honestly start feeling pretty bad for this child. I mean, he is highly dysregulated, face first on the splash pad and banging his head into the splash pad foam floor, but the bucket was something my daughter cashed in on her good job marbles for. And it was something that she had worked hard for and she had earned. I just felt that it would have been a terrible lesson in boundaries to just give it away because someone was crying. All I said was, "Well, I can't give it away. It belongs to her." And I walked to the bench to gather the rest of my stuff. Now, the mom is trying very hard at this point to de-escalate her son and is getting frustrated at me. She then yells across the splash pad condescendingly, "This is why you don't bring toys to the splash pad, if you literally don't want to share them with others." I then hear her trying to bring another random mom into the situation saying, "Oh, he's autistic. He doesn't know better. Can you believe it? And now he's a mess. This is ridiculous. All over a dollar store bucket they won't let him use. Why even bring it if they don't want it being used?" And honestly, this was just so embarrassing. When I got to my car, I just cried. I've been having back and forth internal conflicts over the situation, and I feel like a total jerk because I did rip the bucket from his hands, and I know firsthand how hard autistic meltdowns can be, especially since this child appears to have zero impulse control or any kind of like regulatory skills. But on the other hand, my daughter is neurodivergent, just like me, and I've worked so very hard building these skills with her, and the bucket was symbolic of that, and I didn't feel comfortable just giving it away. If she truly wanted her child to have fun with the bucket, she should have been guiding his interactions and not just let him run all over the place and do whatever he wants. Dude, that is so crazy to me. First of all, you're not watching your kids at a public space, like what's going on? But more than that, you're literally letting someone who needs guidance to go around and just steal things from other people. Like just straight up take someone's duffel bag, dump it out on the ground, grab the bucket that you want and be like, "This is mine now." But it's like, dude, no, it's not. That is not how life works. And the fact that the mom's trying to be like, "Oh, it's just a bucket. It's not that big of a deal." If that's really how she feels, then she could have easily gone to the store and gotten one herself, instead of being like, "Oh, come on, let my kid rob you. It's fine. He's autistic." Which, by the way, is not an excuse. If he has difficulties in that way, then it's on the mom to try and manage that and to build the skills just like the original poster. So yeah, this is super stupid. I can't believe this woman acted like that. And the fact she tried to blame her poor parenting on you, in my opinion, is completely unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled ex-husband demands that I take the fall for a speeding ticket that he got, but instead of giving in to his obnoxious demands, I decided to get some revenge of my own by literally switching the ownership over to him just in time so that he's gonna get in trouble and I'm gonna walk away scot-free. Here's what's going on. Okay, so tonight I got a speeding ticket in the mall for a car I haven't touched in literally years. Now, the car I'm referring to is one that my ex-husband kept after we split up. And you know what? I just didn't care. I wasn't gonna fight him over it. But somehow our names both stayed on the
registration because paperwork was apparently too hard for him. Now, I figured he would sort it out by now, but apparently not because the fine showed up in my name. I texted him and I said, "Hey, you got another speeding ticket." Then I immediately jumped online and I submit a transfer of liability because I haven't even looked at that car since the day he drove off with it. And that's when this man, the one who financially controlled me, treated me horribly emotionally, and made me feel smaller than small for years, has the audacity to ask if I'll take the points for him. He says he'll pay the fine and throw me some cash if I just lie and say that I was driving. And this is because he's on a good behavior license that ends in 5 days. And he never upgraded his to an open license like I repeatedly told him to. I mean, that's on him. Now, let me just be very clear. This is the same man who used to berate me when I had parking tickets, who told me to give up my car spot at work and take a 3-hour round trip on public transport, all while still expecting dinner, laundry, and emotional labor to be done when I got home, who watched me cry over money while he controlled every cent and told me that I was irresponsible. I paid off every one of my fines by myself. I budgeted, I sacrificed, and I got through it. And he made sure I felt like crap the entire time for it. And now he's the one who messed up and wants me to lie and carry the fallout for his bad decisions? But it's like, absolutely not. I'd already transferred the file before he even asked. I mean, it was done. But the audacity of it all has just completely triggered me really badly. And for a second, I felt guilty. Like maybe I was being difficult. Like maybe I should just help him out. But no, that's the same guilt he conditioned into me for years. This time, he wears the consequences of his own actions. So yeah, karma sucks, but at least this time, she showed up on a speeding ticket for the right person. Dude, good for you for standing up to this guy. He sounds like a massive bully. Like, seriously. You mean to tell me this jerk really was like, "Oh, could you please take the points for me? I don't want to get in more trouble." It's like, dude, you treated this lady like crap for so many years. You can't get away with this. Like, this is absolutely karma swooping in and being like, "Oh yeah, you're getting exactly what you deserve." So good for you, truly, for standing up and doing exactly what you need to do to protect your good name. Because this guy does not deserve to tarnish it all because of his bad mistakes. I agreed to live with my girlfriend of 6 months, but now she's pushing for a $4,000 New York City apartment that right now I simply cannot afford as I don't have a job. And even though I expressed this, my girlfriend is still giving me a hard time, making me wonder what I should do next. Here's what's going on. Before I graduated this May, my girlfriend of 6 months, who is an international student from China, agreed with me to live together in New York City for her next school year. Now, I agreed, but said I would need a full-time software engineering job first, and if I don't find one right away, I'll part-time being a server or something else just to cover rent. Well, she was excited and started apartment hunting right away, and she was imagining our life together. Well, it's now June and she's back in China for the summer and found a corner view apartment for around $4,200, which she said is a great deal. Her mom would cover half the rent and I would cover mine, but I don't have a job yet, and I've got no family support of any kind. I've been applying to about 100 jobs per day, with some interviews in progress. I told her I would work part-time if needed, but realistically, that's hard to balance while improving my skills for job hunting. When I hesitated, she said the apartment she just found would be gone soon and wanted to immediately sign the lease. I told her that I want to live with her, but I'm sure. What if I get a job outside of New York City? The tech market is bad for entry level right now, and I would take up just about any job that offered. Signing now could mean paying rent without even living there. She got upset and said that I was only thinking of myself and not about where she would live if we don't get this place. But she does have friends who are willing to live with her. She said to me, "You say you've considered me, but your consideration is limited to what you think. That's not really considering me. You've put me in a position where everything revolves around you. I feel like I've already compromised. My mom is covering the guarantor fee, and I'm helping you job hunt, but you still can't make with this decision? You're not thinking about me enough." She then said we either sign now or she'll live with a friend and rethink our relationship. But it's then that it hit me hard. I realized that it feels like this relationship only survives if we are not long distance and living together. She said if I truly cared, I would just keep job searching until I find a role in New York City and reject non-New York City roles. She even said on call with her family on the background, able to hear the conversation, "Never dating a poor guy again." I then told her that I'm not poor and that my family just doesn't support paying for my rent if we already have a house here, and that I can do whatever I want once I get a job. Well, I caved in and said I would work part-time to cover rent while job hunting, and she would help out as well. But I told her this means I can't afford to treat her to the lifestyle that she wants, namely gifts and nice restaurants and stuff like that, until I get a tech job, since the part-time job will only be enough to cover rent. I also proposed an alternative. She lives with her friend this year, I stay with my family in New York City, work part-time with fewer hours, and then once I get an offer, I'll move in nearby, renting a cheaper studio so we would still be very close. Now, she said she's fine with it, but said that she would still be very disappointed in this relationship, saying that I'm not prioritizing on solving the issue by just working more to live with her. I'll be doing what she wants, but honestly, I feel really uneasy. Not just because of pressure, but because when things go wrong, she always makes it my fault. I'm starting to think like I'm sacrificing my own career, stability, and my self-worth just to hold things together. So how do I move forward with this without wrecking my career or completely losing myself? I've tried talking to her about this, but I may be too narrow in my thinking to convey properly to her. I mean, how can I improve our current relationship situation? What should I do? Dude, if you don't see the red flags in this, I don't know what to tell you. She literally said, "Oh, I'm never dating a poor guy again." And she's made it very clear that money and status and all this other stuff is really the only thing that's important to her. And that is really not fair for you. Like, if anyone's being selfish here, it's her. She is literally not thinking about you at all in this situation. And in my opinion, it kind of seems like she's getting ready to break up with you and go with somebody else. So yeah, this really sucks, and I'm sorry that you're going through this. But it really does seem like your girlfriend is super toxic, and I just don't think you deserve that in the slightest. My manager tries to sabotage my job by getting me fired for things I never did. So I decided to get some revenge by exposing him for the jerk that he truly is, giving him one final warning from human resources, and making me feel super satisfied for getting back at this entitled jerk. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I had worked security for about 4 years up until this point, and had recently picked up an overnight gate guard position while I was studying for school. Now, I suck at procrastination, and I figured this would leave me no excuse since I had to be awake. Well, after I got my license, I decided to work more days because I liked the job, and I worked a job for my degree during the day, and the security job at night, with me basically having 3 to 4 days off depending on the week. Well, the new post I worked at really didn't like that I had another job, nor that I made more than the supervisors. I always did my job, but I was told by 2 of the other guards that there was always some type of drama at this post, especially if they didn't like someone and somehow they ended up getting fired. Then one day it began. We had a set of keys that opened everything. One morning, a guard came to relieve me, let's call him Joe for the sake of the story, and he said that I could go. Joe then calls me 30 minutes later asking if I'd seen the keys. And then the co-supervisor, let's call him Mark, he calls me and says Joe said I could go and that it's the last time they had seen the keys. I usually get home in 15 minutes and pass out, so I was already completely out cold. I then called them back later in the day before my other job shift to inform them that I didn't have any of the keys that they were looking for. Well, then Joe changes the whole story and says that he didn't say that I could leave and that I apparently just left. But here's the thing, I had the voicemail as evidence of what he actually told Mark. But no matter what, apparently Mark was going to believe Joe because they worked together for 13 years. They later found the keys near the post that they were looking for, and one of them said I probably hired someone to put them there. And I just laughed because I genuinely don't have time for that. Anyways, they have this courtesy rule where they would like you to get to the post 30 minutes early to relieve the other guards and to go over anything that happened on your shift. And since I have my other job, I can only get there 15 minutes early, which is something I had already discussed with the head supervisor. And this is someone I will call Bob for the sake of the story. However, this was a real issue with Mark, and he had been telling Bob and any other guard that was willing to listen that it was a problem besides me. Ironically enough, Mark never makes it on time with this rule. He always shows up 20 minutes before the shift, and I know that because he relies on me for 2 of my shifts with Bob. So one weekend I picked up a shift because they needed a new guard, and I ended up only getting there 10 minutes before the shift started. And Mark comes into the post very angry. It was 5 minutes into this conversation where I knew I needed to start recording as he began cursing at me. Mark tells me to go home since I can't respect the courtesy, and then changes his mind once I told him I wasn't going to leave, as I figured he was going to turn it on me. Bob hears and asks what happened the next day, and I told him to believe what he wants to believe, since they only seem to want to believe each other. Well, it turns out that Mark told management that I freaked out on Mark and threatened to hit him. A day before they were planning to fire me, I walked into the main office and I told them I couldn't give them the recording as it is a 2-party state, but I wanted them to listen to the conversation. Immediately after hearing it, the human resources woman apologized to me, saying that she couldn't believe that was him. You know, since she had never heard him talk like that, and she even offered me to stay. But I respectfully declined since I knew I was going to get a new post closer to my house. And instead of me getting any type of reprimand, Mark ended up getting a final warning. Now, my new post was amazing, by the way, with no drama, and I ended up quitting to find a better opportunity. I also made sure to make Bob aware with a note that Mark had been lying for years that he had lived 30 minutes away, which was his excuse for not living up to this courtesy arrival time. But it honestly feels good to get back at Mark because this guy absolutely deserved it. Dude, I can't stand when you've got managers who are literally just working against you because they don't like you. You haven't done anything wrong, you're literally just doing your job and trying to make rent. I would even argue that the original poster was probably completely normal and just a functioning member of the team, and they were at least neutral and pleasant to be around, just like you would with any other job. So the fact that these people were actively trying to work against against you. Like, this is so annoying. I would be so frustrated dealing with that because I've been in that situation before. You're doing everything right, but it's still never enough for these people. So good for you for getting your revenge on Mark and getting him his final warning, because this guy sounds like a jerk and he absolutely deserves it in my opinion. Am I the jerk for not letting my friend borrow my car after she literally returned it to me full of junk and with a scratch on my back bumper? Here's how it's all going down. I'm a 27-year-old female and I have a decent used car that I worked really hard to pay off. It's nothing fancy, but it runs well and I take really good care of it. I have regular maintenance, I keep it clean, I don't smoke in it, there's no trash left inside of it, etc. I've always been a little protective of it because I rely on it every day for work. Well, a few months ago, my friend, let's call her Sarah for the sake of the story, asked me if she could borrow it for a weekend trip because her car was in the shop. Now, I hesitated but said yes because we've been friends for years and I really wanted to help. Well, she returned it 2 days later and there was literally less than a quarter of tank of gas left in it. And by the way, I had filled it up before I gave it to her. There were fast food wrappers in the back seat. There was dirt all over the passenger floor. And the cherry on top is that there's a mysterious scratch on the back bumper that she swore was already there, which by the way, it definitely wasn't. I didn't say much at the time because I hate confrontation, but I was honestly super pissed off, especially because I expected more out of someone who I am friends with. Flash forward to this week, and she texted me asking if she can borrow my car again for a different trip. But you know what? This time I told her no. I said it very politely, and I just said that I wasn't comfortable loaning it out anymore. Well, she seemed to have gotten really upset with me and was saying things like, "Oh, are you sure you can't just help me out? I feel like that's what friends would do for each other." And it really seems like she's trying to guilt trip me in some kind of way. Now, I responded initially, but I'm now waiting to reply to her. But now I'm getting messages from another mutual friend saying that I'm being too uptight and that it wouldn't kill me to help her out for just this once. I feel like I'm being guilt tripped for setting a boundary after already being taken advantage of once. So am I the jerk for refusing to let her borrow my car again? Because right now I really don't know what to do. No way, you're not the jerk at all, dude. This lady sucks. She literally got your car super dirty and she scratched the back of it. Like, are you kidding me? If you're gonna borrow someone's car, dude, you gotta take care of it. You can't let it get disgusting and then be like, well, that was already there, sorry. And I love the fact that she's trying to be like, oh, but this is what friends would do. I can't believe you. We're like friends. How can you like not do this for me? And it's like, yeah, of course, whatever. But also, hey, friends don't destroy other people's stuff. They take care of it and they treat it like their own. So yeah, this lady sucks and you're definitely not the jerk. And the fact that she's trying to like guilt trip you over this is insane in my opinion. My dad is always going on vacations with his new wife and his stepson, but I literally never get invited, leaving me feeling incredibly jealous and very jaded. Here's what's going on. I'm a 26-year-old female, and for a bit of context, I lost my mom when I was 20 years old. My dad and I were pretty close during my childhood and the year or two after losing my mom, but he decided to get remarried and moved away. He made me move out of our house with only 30 days notice so that he could move 6 hours away and live with her. Now, she's a nice lady and she has a son who's almost 10 years younger than me, who is a respectful guy. And honestly, they are not a problem. It's just my dad that I really have an issue with. Ever since he moved, I've made the effort to visit him, but he honestly just doesn't seem that interested in paying attention to me anymore. He is retired and he has no commitments when I visit, but instead of hanging out with me, he will just go see her during her workday so that they can have lunch together. Even the first Christmas I visited, I asked him about watching the Christmas movies that we all used to watch together every year, and he said he already watched them with his stepson and wife. The next year I visited him and we got into this huge argument about me not texting him back soon enough, but he literally chewed me out until I was crying and hyperventilating, and it just seems so excessive. He pays my phone bill still and nothing else, and when he gets mad at me, he just shuts my phone off. The straw that has really broken my back though is the constant lavish vacations that he takes with his new family, and he just never invites me or even bothers to tell me about it. I told him after his last trip that I wish he would invite me sometimes, even if I can't go, because it just sucks finding out about all their family travel on his wife's Facebook. Of course I get jealous sometimes of him and his wife being on trips together, but it only really bothers me when they have the son with them. I feel so left out, and anytime I try to talk to him about my feelings, he completely shuts me down. So, are my feelings an overreaction? I want to be happy and I know I'm an adult and he shouldn't be responsible for me anymore, but how can I deal with feeling like I'm not part of his family anymore? What should I do? Honestly, I don't think you're overreacting because it does kind of seem like your dad kicked you to the curb and is like, okay, see you later. It's also super concerning because when he gets pissed off at you, he just shuts your phone off. And I don't know about you, but that's really messed up. Like, that doesn't seem right at all. So no, you're not overreacting, and I think if I was in your shoes, I would have the same reaction. My psycho roommate shows up to my retail store looking for my manager for an interview that she claims I promised that she would have. as she feels entitled to have a job at my store after she got fired from 3 different jobs in just a few months. And now after this stunt, I'm honestly questioning our friendship and whether or not we should still be roommates, because at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm an 18-year-old female and I've been working at a clothing store in the mall for a few months now. It's my first steady job and it's a perfect fit for me. Great coworkers, a decent manager, and I finally feel like I'm getting my life together after moving out and going to college. I live with my high school friend turned roommate, who we will call Kayla, who's also 18 years old. Kayla's been struggling with jobs ever since we moved in. She's been fired from 3 part-time places in the past few months for being late, as well as slacking off and calling out last minute. She constantly borrows money from me and is always short on rent. I have always given her the benefit of the doubt due to her struggles and pay the portion of the rent she owed every single time. But last week she found out my work was hiring and she practically begged me to refer her. I told her very politely that I didn't feel comfortable doing that, and I said something like, well, as much as I want to help you, I would like to keep work and personal life completely separate. And while she did get passive aggressive, she did drop it, or at least I thought so. Fast forward and a few days later, I'm on shift when Kayla shows up to my store dressed extremely inappropriately. We're talking a mini skirt and a showy top. She then tells my manager that she's there for an interview that I set up for her. My manager looks confused and asks me in front of her if this is true, and I'm just standing there like, what? I literally say no, that I never arranged anything, and that I never referred her. Kayla looked shocked and said that I told her to just come in and introduce herself, because apparently that's how they do things here. She tries to play it off, but my manager isn't buying it. She then politely asked her to leave and says they don't accept walk-ins without appointments or referrals. Kayla then storms out and texts me a wall of rage, saying that I embarrassed her, humiliated her on purpose, and I ruined her chance to finally get her life together. But here's the kicker. A few hours later, security tells us that she came back and she was caught sneaking into the back area where employees clock in. She said she forgot her water bottle even though she's never had one. She got escorted out and my manager had to file a report, and Kayla is now banned from the store. Now she's barely speaking to me and has been telling people I sabotaged her future and that I'm a toxic fake friend. One of her friends even DM'd me saying that I could have at least warned her instead of letting her walk into a trap. So seriously, am I at fault here for not getting her the job and supposedly embarrassing her when she showed up anyways? Because right now I'm incredibly embarrassed and I don't know what to do. Holy crap, your friend is insane. Like, this is a different level of crazy that you do not have to deal with. Like, seriously, this is weird. First of all, it's a giant red flag to get fired from 3 part-time places, all in just a few months too, by the way. Because in my opinion, if you want to work, then being on time is a simple thing. Just wake up early and get there. Make the time and plan accordingly, and you can make your job. Like, you can really do it. But her calling out and being late and slacking off, like, do you really think anybody's gonna want that in their workplace? Let alone your roommate? Like, come on, dude. But for me, the icing on the cake is the fact that she tried to ruin your reputation in front of your manager. Like, she really thought she could show up and be like, oh, I'm here for that interview, right? Like, I'm willing to believe that she tried to play on the idea of like, oh, well, you're not gonna get me your job? Then fine, I'm gonna take your job from you. And like, that was her whole plan the entire time. She just wanted to sabotage what you have because she can't have it. Like, that might even be why she was trying to like sneak in the back. Like, do something and then try and have it pinned on you or something like that. So in my opinion, Kayla is not your friend. She is not a good person. And in my opinion, I would not care for a second what her friends think, because this chick is insane and I would be working very hard to find a new roommate, because Kayla sounds like an absolute nightmare to live with. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not letting my neighbor pay me to charge his Tesla at my outlet? Because right now, I am not sure if I'm the jerk. Here's what's going on. So my partner and I moved into our apartment in March, a residential building with 3 units, including a detached garage apartment behind our house. We noticed that our neighbor who lives in the garage apartment has his Tesla plugged into an outlet by our front door. We suspected this outlet was connected to our electric meter and tested the theory by briefly unplugging the charging cord, and we saw the electric meter come to a halt when it was unplugged. And not wanting to be jerks, we just decided to plug it back in. I texted our landlord with the findings and asked if there was another outlet the neighbor could use. She responded that the neighbor sent her a screenshot of his Tesla app showing an estimate of $19 in charging for the month, and that he was willing to pay $20 a month until there was a long-term solution. The landlord would have an electrician come to confirm findings and establish a long-term solution for his car charging. The neighbor texted me saying this had been brought to his attention and he had no idea he was using our outlet. In fact, he had been using it for 2 years and it was never mentioned to him. Evidently, he's knowingly been charging his car at an outlet he has been paying for 2
years. Now, we looked at the electrical company rates, and based on the consumed wattage shown in his Tesla app, at the current rate plus tax, it would be about $35 a month and not $20. And by the way, we are financially comfortable with a $15 a month loss. I mean, it isn't a lot, but to ask for $35 feels like nickel and diming our neighbor, and it will likely change every month. The actual solution is for him to charge at his own outlet and not use ours. I then texted our neighbor saying that we didn't want any money until the electrician had confirmed that he was charging at our outlet. Our landlord tonight texted us saying that he was going to send about $20 a month to cover his electric usage. My partner then texted both of them and said we don't want any money. We want our neighbor to just not use our outlet. And our neighbor replied that ours was the only outdoor outlet. My partner then replied asking why it has to be an outdoor outlet. And the landlord replied saying that to use an indoor outlet would require a cracked window, which would be energy inefficient. And also, our neighbor has his windows open all day every day, and we live in California. So even if it was hot, there are solutions. He could get flat extension cords, he could put some kind of weather strip in the window crack, etc. Our landlord replied by saying understood, and instructed the neighbor not to plug it into our outlet by our front door any longer. Well, the neighbor has not responded, and I'm feeling like a jerk because it is a very small amount of money, and we know he needs to charge his car. It's a small apartment complex, and we see him every day. But also, this shouldn't be our problem. He should be the one solving his problems and dealing with the energy expense and not us. On the other hand, we could just easily let it go. We just don't think that we should have to be the ones dealing with this at all, and at this point, we seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first of all, this has nothing to do with the money in my opinion. Like seriously, this is the principle of the matter. The fact that the landlord even entertained the idea of like, oh, don't worry, I'll send you $20 a month to cover the cost. It's like, dude, that's not the point. The point is these people are using my electricity, and instead of like making them do their own thing, you're still trying to force it on me. And oh, by the way, it's not the full amount that I'm owed. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's super annoying. And I don't know about you, but $15 a month would add up very quickly. That's $180 a year that I'm losing because this guy wants to like not give me the full amount. So no, you're definitely not the jerk for telling this guy to buzz off. If he really wants to charge his stupid car, then he should find an outlet that he owns and not try to siphon it off of your grid. My parents treated me like garbage for a majority of my childhood, and every time they did, I decided to get some weird petty revenge, striking back at them in ways that they never expected. Here's what I did. I was 15 at the time, and I'm now 23, and I've been no contact for a long time. My mom and her husband had been awful, had neglected me, and left me out of everything my entire life. They treated me so poorly and like a burden for even existing. I mean, I was the one that everyone's problems got taken out on. The week before this happened, my mom, her husband, and all of my siblings went on a lake trip, and of course, they excluded me and my grandma. A week later, my grandma told me to pack a bag for the day, and this is where we went on a day trip to a lovely beach. We went swimming, we went out to a restaurant, and we went out to a museum. We collected seashells. I mean, it was an amazing day. When I got home, my mom and her husband yelled at me. They said I should have told my grandma to take my sister too. They then grounded me for being selfish and self-absorbed, saying that I left my sister behind, while also saying that my sister was the favorite. They grounded me for a whole month. And you know what? That entire month, I was a menace enacting my petty revenge. Every day that I was grounded, I let the shower handle up and made sure the knob was the cold part of the shower. Well, that morning, my mother's husband yelled, "Who the F left the shower knob on? The cold water sprayed on me." And when I heard him yell this, I just quietly giggled. And trust me, this was just the beginning. Every time I noticed the toilet paper was low, I used the entirety of it and didn't change it out for a new roll. I kept a pack of wet wipes in my bag for this reason. I went around the kitchen and I often unplugged the microwave, the air fryer, etc. And it really made it inconvenient to use the kitchen. I even logged out of all the household computers so that it was a hassle for my mother and her husband to reset the password. I removed the label off of all the canned goods in the kitchen, and that month I took all of the spoons, the knives, and the forks, and I threw them all in the trash. I even had a stash of plastic forks and cutlery in my room that me and my grandmother used. And trust me, they flipped out over the utensils. I logged out of all of the streaming apps on the television, and none of them knew any of the passwords, so they also had to go through a lot of hassle to figure that out. The cherry on top of all of it is that I took all of the garbage bags and I got rid of them. And they were mad they couldn't throw anything away, and they had to go to the store to buy more. And you know what? I won't deny it. I was a very petty child, but my revenge was so satisfying because these people seriously deserved it. Yeah, from what the original poster describes, especially in like the comment section, these people were really bad. They treated them like this all the time, and it was a constant battle. They even admitted that, yeah, they probably should have done worse. So I love the fact that you got some revenge as best you could at the age of 15, because these people sounded like they really sucked. An entitled Karen literally gets so impatient in a parking lot that she says to a cop they can either get out of her way or she's
gonna hit their car. Here's what happened. Okay, so I went out to dinner with my husband, and when we were leaving, we saw that someone had grazed the side of our van while we were dining. It's nothing crazy, but there are some gouged scratches. Very superficial, but it was a hit and run. We asked the restaurant if they could access the footage, and they asked us to call the police. And trust me, this was our next order of business. So we called and had a seat at some picnic tables while we waited about 15 minutes for the officer to come by and take the report. Just as we had sat to wait, the boomers walked out and she was loudly exclaiming, "I'm just saying that if that's how they treat their paying customers." And she's saying this very grumpy, but whatever. The officer arrived and parked behind our van rather than pulling into a parking spot. And at this point, it had been about 20 minutes since they had left the restaurant, but they were still there in their vehicle. As we were finishing up, the boomer comes over and says to the cop, "I don't want to have to do more paperwork when I hit your car. Can you move it so we can go?" And the officer said, "Well, ma'am, I'm on official business. Return to your vehicle and I'll be finished soon. Just turn around and return to your vehicle." She then looked like she was going to say something else, but he just turned on his heels right back to us. She then got a little red, turned around and stomped back to her car. The entitlement is astounding, honestly impressive, and I'd never dream of saying something like that to an officer ever in my life. Dude, I cannot imagine sitting there and being like, "Oh, if you don't get out of the way, I'm gonna hit your car." By the way, they said that to a cop. Like, dude, are you serious right now? You are that impatient? Like, man, you got some guts or you're just plain stupid. But I honestly think in this situation, the Karen of the story is just incredibly stupid. Today, I realize that I'm pretty sure I'm being fired from my job, but I'm trying to remain optimistic about my next move, because right now I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do next. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I've been serving for around 11 years and working at this restaurant for 2. And before I lament, I just want everyone to know, I understand I 100% brought this upon myself, and this isn't the restaurant's fault, it's all my own. I'm just sharing my grievances here while also being a cautionary tale. I got written up for sleeping through my alarm last week. This is not good, but it's better than getting fired. On Friday, I was super busy and got some checks mixed up, got a customer pissed off because of it, and he pulled my manager aside since he was rightfully upset. He even asked if I was okay, which made it even worse because I wasn't. I've been going through some personal stuff and it's been bleeding into other aspects of my life. However, I understand my personal problems are not the problems of the business, and I realized that I made it their problem, which it shouldn't have been. They told me to take tonight off, but I'm almost positive I know what's happening. So I printed out some resumes to find another job, and I'm finding a therapist tomorrow. The moral of the story is a tale as old as time. Don't let your personal problems affect your professional life. Also, don't try to take a 20-minute power nap an hour before your shift after you've been experiencing insomnia, because trust me, it's not gonna work out in your favor. Oh man, I've been there for like so many different phases of my life, so I totally understand that you're going through a rough patch and it's bleeding into work. Like, anyone can understand that, and I'm sorry it's just not working out for you. But you know what? There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and there's always a better opportunity. And hopefully you find that sooner than later. My entitled aunt corners me over not texting her on my birthday, and after listening to her scream and rant at me, I finally snapped and did something that I've never done before, where I stood up for myself in a way that she will truly never forget. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so this just happened, but I need to get some context to all of you. I have an aunt on my mom's side, married to her brother. We'll call her Aunt Karen for the sake of not doxing anybody. Anywho, she has never truly liked me and does a poor job of hiding it, whether it's by making obvious faces and getting silent when I speak, or showing how she's annoyed, or just immediately being very short with me. This makes me tense, and I'm a person with bipolar disorder, as well as PTSD and an anxiety disorder. So truly, it's not a good mix. Anywho, last week was my birthday, and a lot of people sent me birthday messages. I didn't respond to all of them because my sibling was taking me out, trying to make my birthday special, knowing that I don't really have many good ones. So naturally, I'm not going to message every single person unless I see it in the moment. And I'm not one to text back immediately or even see it, and it's not malicious. I'm just bad at texting. Well, this is what puts her on a warpath. She actually came over, ranted to my mom while she was working, and then she went to find me. I was gaming with my friends when I heard my Aunt Karen say, "Come here right now, we need to talk." I then tell my friends to give me a moment, and I head down where she's standing, and she has one arm against the table with her palm pressed in and a hand on her hip staring me down, blocking me in between the base of my stairs and the entry of the kitchen. There was no way to get past, only up. There is a sliding door that separates the entryway from the base of my stairs, and this will be important later on. She then immediately goes off on me. "Okay, I messaged you and your twin on your birthday, but you can't message me back." I responded by saying I was out all day with my siblings. I barely messaged anyone back. I'm sorry. It's at this point that she goes on this huge rant where all her words are just blurred together to where I just snapped. I say to her, "Texting you is not my obligation. I don't have to apologize for it actually. actually, and I'm done with this conversation. Well, she immediately is taken aback. I don't think anyone in this family thinks that I have what it takes to do this, and I'm usually the shy, quiet one, but boy oh boy does she get pissed. She then tries to say, no, we are not done. But I just say, nope, we are, see you later, bye. And I then proceed to pull the sliding pocket door in her face and I yell at her, I'm off to have fun with my friends. She then opens the door and starts yelling, you get back here right now. But I just say, nope, no, bye, leave me alone. I know you don't like me anyways, see ya. It's at this time I'm shaking violently, and the anxiety hits me so bad that I almost pass out. But oh my god, it felt so good to tell her off. I know this will start some crap with her family, but I really just don't care. No one in my family really gives a crap about me anyways, and I'm over on the other side cutting off ties. I'm at the point where I'm done caring if my anxiety tries to take me down. I did take some anxiety medication, and my friends helped me calm down and give me a safe space. If she was downstairs listening, I just don't care anymore. I just was not gonna take it. Even my dog hates her, and my dog is the sweetest being in existence, and would probably befriend a robber breaking in over her. She's also an entitled parent as she has a son, and he is super chill and probably will cut her off as well, but she is also a boy mom definitely. She made him compete in all sorts of things, making him the best of the best, and she had Munchausen's by proxy, claiming that he is lactose intolerant when I've seen him down all sorts of dairy no problem, while also making him be homeschooled. So I'm pretty sure half the family will be berating me, but I'm just gonna tune them out. I would rather not care than have uncontrollable panic attacks. And even to this day, I still don't know what came over me, but I'm honestly so glad that I did it. Man, I love this so much, and I'm so proud of the original poster. I've dealt with family members who are absolutely toxic in this way, or even just friends and like acquaintances who treat me like garbage, and it's like, okay, enough is enough. I cannot deal with this. This is so frustrating. So good for you for taking a stand, and to me, this is a great example of standing up for yourself. It's never a bad thing to say, no, you're not going to talk to me like that, while establishing that this behavior is wrong, it's weird, and I'm not going to take it any longer. So good for you, because this aunt absolutely deserved to get shut down. My mother-in-law literally gave away all of my belongings. As she rifled through all of my stuff she said we could store at her house, and just gave stuff away as she pleased. And now I feel a level of betrayal that I've never felt in my life, and I'm super frustrated, and at this point, I really don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm really not sure how to navigate this situation. Recently, my fiance and I were homeless as we transitioned from selling our house to finding a rental, so we moved in with his mother. While living with his mother, we put all of our stuff into storage. We originally were going to put our stuff into one of her empty rooms, but my boyfriend advised against it, as he said that she and her husband would go through all of our stuff. And you know what? I didn't believe it until it actually happened. So we finally found our own place, and I was not able to fit everything we had into it. We moved 8 hours away, and I asked her if I could store a few items in her empty closet in a room that she never touches. It would literally just be a chair, a few boxes, a pillow, and a small table. Well, my fiance's brother is coming into town and offered to bring my things, and that's when she admitted that she had given my pillow away to their grandmother. Last night, his grandmother calls me, and it's super awkward, basically saying that I can't have it back, even though I spent $50 on it. It was just super awkward. Well, I told her she could just have it in the end, but that's when she said she gave it back evidently in tears, but I was super nice about it, and I just said that she could have it. Well, then his dad was telling me how selfish and evil I am for taking a pillow from an old woman, and I'm just like, well, you guys are super selfish for shopping through my items without asking, and for telling me I could store them there to begin with, especially when I raised concerns with this happening and they ensured multiple times that it wouldn't. Oh, and by the way, they stole a brand new fan from me that I got to use once that cost me $150 that was in the closet, and I couldn't take it back because it had so much dirt and dust on it. But apparently I'm the evil one in the situation, although I literally said she could have it in the end, and I know it has zero value to her. She's always asking to keep our stuff, like a random Nike hoodie for my boyfriend that he was literally wearing. They are super weird like that, and my boyfriend was super kind and gave her the hoodie off his back when she probably just threw it in a closet. And the thing is, he doesn't even have that much because he is such a good guy, and his grandma's the type of person to have a ton of money and just never buy us a present ever. I don't know, I just don't feel entitled to give anyone anything of mine, especially stuff I was excited about, as well as saving up for my new place. I mean, these things were really pricey items. His mom keeps reminding us literally the last 3 times that she's called, oh, she was in such tears when she gave us back the pillow. It makes me question the family I may potentially marry into. Also, get this, the chair I had stored there was a $1,000 vintage chair, and I found it for $75. I mean, this thing is super flimsy and it's made of acrylic. I just said, well, I hope it makes it because it's so fragile. And that's when his mom let me know that she had been banging it around since it was raining. She even asked to use it for her bathroom, and then today, the day it was time to
to, give it up to me. She asked me what I planned on doing with it. It's all just super upsetting how they feel entitled to my items. And I totally learned a lesson to never put myself in this situation ever again, because these people are honestly the absolute worst. Yeah, I would be pretty pissed off if someone went after my stuff and either gave it away or sold it or destroyed it. There's no excuse for any of this. This is literally items that you're gonna come and pick up. It's not like you're abandoning it, and you got their permission. I just don't understand why they would go through there and be like, oh, this pillow, we could just give this away. And then when you try to be like, oh, you really want it? Okay, just keep it. It's totally fine. You can have it. They still try to double down and be like, wow, you made grandma cry. You're a terrible person. How dare you? Grandma cried so much when you asked for it back. Completely ignoring the fact that you're like, look, just keep the pillow. I don't care that much. This kind of behavior is super entitled and so toxic. And in that regard, I don't blame you for being like, yeah, I don't know if this family's right for me, because I know for a fact I would be very annoyed by this. So yeah, this really is a lesson learned kind of situation, because your mother-in-law sounds like an awful person, and I would not want to put up with that in the slightest. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.